Chapter 24. I'm in Canada, she's in New York. I'm in Vegas, she's in Los Angeles. We stay connected by phone. One night she asked for a rundown of my favorites. Song, book, food, movie. You've probably never heard of my favorite movie. Tell me, she says. It came out several years ago. It's called Shadowlands. It's about C.S. Lewis, the writer. I hear a sound like the phone dropping. That's impossible, she says. That's simply not possible. That's my favorite movie. It's about committing, opening yourself to love. Yes, she says. Yes, it is. I know. We are like blocks of stone. Blows of his chisel which hurt us so much are what make us perfect. Yes, perfect. Playing in Montreal in the semis against Kafelnikov, I can't win a single point. He's number 2 in the world, and he puts a beating on me that causes people in the stands to cover their eyes. I tell myself I have no say in the outcome of this match. I have no vote about what's happening to me today. I'm not just being defeated, I'm being disenfranchised. But I'm okay. In the locker room, I see Kafelnikov's coach, Larry, leaning against the wall, smiling. Larry, that was the sickest display of tennis I've ever seen. I'm going to make you a promise. Tell your boy he has a couple of beatings coming from me. Later in the day, I get a call from Stephanie. She's at Lax. I ask, how'd you do in your tournament? I hurt myself. I'm sorry. Yes, that's it. I'm done. Where are you headed? Back to Germany. I have some unfinished business. I know what this means. She's going to talk to her boyfriend, tell him about me, break things off. I feel a goofy smile spread across my face. When she returns from Germany, she says she'll meet me in New York. We can spend time together before the 1999 U.S. Open. She mentions that she'll need to call a news conference. A news conference? For what? My retirement. You're retiring? That's what I just said. I'm done. When you said done, I thought you meant done for the tournament. I didn't know you meant done. I feel bereft, thinking of tennis without Stephanie Graf, the greatest women's player of all time. I ask how it feels knowing she'll never swing a racket in competition again. It's the kind of question reporters ask me every day, but I can't help myself. I want to know. I ask with a mixture of curiosity and envy. She says it feels fine. She's at peace, more than ready to be done. I wonder if I'm ready. I meditate on my own tennis mortality. But a week later, I'm in Washington, D.C., playing Kafelnikov in the final. I beat him 7-6, 6-1, and afterward, I give his coach, Larry, a look. A promise is a promise. I realize I'm not done. I have promises yet to keep. I'm on the verge of being number 1 again. This time it's not my father's goal, or Perry's, or Brad's, and I remind myself that it's not mine either. It would be nice, that's all. It would cap off the comeback. It would be a memorable milestone on my journey. I sprint up one side of Gill Hill, down the other. I'm training for the number 1 ranking, I tell Gill, and for the U.S. Open, and, in a funny way, for Stephanie. I can't wait for you to meet her, I say. She arrives in New York, and I whisk her upstate to a friend's 19th century farmhouse. It has 1,500 acres and several large stone fireplaces. In every room we can sit and stare into the flames and talk. I tell her I'm a firebug. Me too, she says. The leaves are just starting to turn, and each window frames a postcard view of red gold woods and mountains. There's no one around for miles. We spend our time walking, hiking, driving into nearby towns, puttering in antique shops. At night we lie on the couch and watch the original Pink Panther. After half an hour we're both laughing so hard at Peter Sellers that we have to stop the tape and catch our breath. She leaves after 3 days. She has to go on holiday with her family. I beg her to come back for the final weekend of the U.S. Open, to be there for me, in my box. I wonder if I'm jinxing myself, presuming that I'll be playing on the final weekend, but I don't care. She says she'll try. I reach the semis. I'm scheduled to play Kafelnikov. Stephanie phones and says she'll come, but she won't sit in my box. She's not ready for that. Well then, let me arrange a seat for you. I'll find my own seat, she says. Don't worry about me. I know my way around that place. I laugh. I guess so. She watches from the upper deck, wearing a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes. Of course, the CBS cameras pick her out of the crowd, and McEnroe, doing commentary, says U.S. Open officials should be ashamed not getting Steffi Graf a better seat. I beat Kafelnikov again. Tell Larry I said hello. In the final, I face Martin. I thought it would be Pete. I said publicly that I wanted Pete, but he pulled out of the tournament with a bad back. So it's Martin who's been there, across the net, at so many critical junctures. At Wimbledon in 1994, when I was still struggling to absorb Brad's teachings, I lost to Martin in a nip-and-tuck five-setter. At the U.S. Open that same year, Lupica predicted that Martin would upend me in the semis, and I believed him, but still managed to beat Martin and win the tournament. In Stuttgart in 1997, it was my appalling first-round loss to Martin that finally pushed Brad to the breaking point. Now it's Martin who will be a test of my newfound maturity, who will show if the changes in me are fleeting or meaningful. I break him in the very first game. The crowd is solidly behind me. Martin doesn't hang his head, however, doesn't lose any poise. He makes me work for the first set, then comes out stronger in the second, taking it in a tight tiebreak. He then wins the third set, an even tighter tiebreak. He leads 2-1, a commanding lead at this tournament. No one ever comes back from such a deficit in the final here. It hasn't happened in 26 years. I see in Martin's eyes that he's feeling it and waiting for me to show the old cracks in my mental armor. He's waiting for me to crumble, to revert to that jittery, emotional Andre he's played so often in years past. But I neither fold nor yield. I win the fourth set, 6-3, and in the fifth set, with Martin looking spent, I'm on the balls of my feet. I win the set 6-2 and walk away knowing I'm healed. I'm back, exulting that Stephanie was here to see it. I've made only 5 unforced errors in the final 2 sets. Not once all day have I lost my serve, the first 5-setter of my career in which I haven't lost my serve, and it comes as I capture my 5th slam. When I get back to Vegas, I want to put 500 on number 5 at a roulette table. In the press room, one reporter asked why I think the New York crowd was pulling for me, cheering so loudly. I wish I knew, but I take a guess. They've watched me grow up. Of course, fans everywhere have watched me grow up, but in New York, their expectations were higher, which helped accelerate and validate my growth. It's the first time I've felt or dared to say aloud that I'm a grown-up. Stephanie flies with me to Vegas. We do all the typical Vegas-y things. We gamble, see a show, take in a boxing match with Brad and Kimmy, Oscar de la Hoya versus Felix Trinidad, our first official public date, our coming out party. The next day, a photo of us holding hands, kissing at ringside, appears in newspapers. No turning back now, I tell her. She stares, then slowly, thankfully, smiles. She spends the weekend at my house. The weekend turns into a week, then a month. JP phones one day and asks how things are going. I've never been better. When are you going to see Stephanie again? She's still here. What do you mean? I cup my hand over my mouth and whisper, It's still date 3. She hasn't left. Well, what? I assume she'll leave eventually, go back to Germany, get her stuff, but we don't talk about it, and I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to do anything to disrupt things. The way you're not supposed to wake a sleepwalker. But soon it's time for me to go back to Germany, to play Stuttgart. She wants to come along. She even agrees to sit in my box, and I'm delighted to have her there with me. After all, Stuttgart is an important city for us both. It's where she turned pro and where I returned pro. And yet, we don't talk about tennis on the flight. We talk kids. I tell her I want them, with her. A bold thing to say, but I can't help myself. She takes my hand, tears in her eyes, then looks out the window. On our last morning in Stuttgart, Stephanie needs to get up early. She has an early flight. She kisses my forehead goodbye. I pull the pillow over my head and go back to sleep. When I wake an hour later and stumble to the bathroom, I see, lying in my open shaving kit, Stephanie's birth control pills, as if to say, I won't be needing these anymore. I not only reached number 1, I finished 1999 number 1, the first time I've ever ended a year in the top slot. I snapped Pete's streak of 6 year-end finishes at number 1. I then win the Paris Open and become the first man ever to win the Paris Open and the French Open in the same year. But at the ATP World Tour Championship, I lose to Pete, our 28th meeting. He leads 17-11. In slam finals, he leads 3-1. Not much of a rivalry, sports writers say, since Pete usually wins. I can't argue, and I can't be upset about Pete anymore. I do the only thing I can do. I go to Gil's house and burn muscles. I run up and down Gill Hill until I see visions. I run in the morning, I run in the evening. I run on Christmas Eve, Gil timing me with a stopwatch. He says I'm breathing so loudly when I reach the top of the hill that he can hear me from the bottom. I run until I lean over the sticker bushes and vomit. Finally, he meets me at the summit and tells me to stop. We stand and look at all the Christmas lights in the distance, and then we watch for shooting stars. I'm proud of you, he says. Being out here, tonight, Christmas Eve, it says something. I thank him for being out here with me, for giving up his Christmas Eve. Must be so many other places that you'd rather be. No place I'd rather be, he says. As the 2000 Australian Open begins, I beat Mariano Puerta in straight sets, and he publicly praises my concentration. I feel it. I'm on a collision course with Pete again, and sure enough, we face off in the semis. I've lost 4 of the last 5 times we've played, and he's as good this day as ever. He hits me with 37 aces, more than he's ever notched against me. But I've got Christmas Eve with Gil. 2 points from losing the match, I mount a furious comeback. I win the match and become the first man since Laver to reach the final in 4 straight slams. In the final, I face Kafelnikov again. It takes time to warm up. I'm still rubbery after my tussle with Pete. I lose the first set, but find my stride, my touch, and take him in 4. My 6th slam. At the post-match news conference, I thank Brad and Gil for teaching me that my best is good enough. A fan shouts out Stephanie's name, asks what's the story there. Mind your business, I say, joking. I'd actually like to tell the world about it, and I will, soon. Gil tells the New York Times, I really believe we will never see Andre stop fighting ever again. Brad tells the Washington Post, he's got a 27-1 match record over the last 4 Grand Slams. Only Rod Laver, Don Budge, and Steffi Graf have ever done better. Even Brad doesn't fully realize how floored I am to be mentioned in that company. Chapter 25. Stephanie tells me her father is coming to Vegas for a visit. Her parents are long divorced, and her mother, Heidi, already lives 15 minutes from us. Thus, the unavoidable moment has arrived. Our fathers are going to meet. The prospect unnerves us both. Peter Graf is suave, sophisticated, well-read. He likes to make jokes, lots of jokes, none of which I get because his English is spotty. I want to like him, and I see that he wants me to like him, but I'm uneasy in his presence because I know the history. He's the German Mike Agassi, a former soccer player, a tennis fanatic. He started Stephanie playing before she was out of diapers. Unlike my father, however, Peter never stopped managing her career and her finances, and he spent 2 years in jail for tax evasion. The subject never comes up, but feels at times like the German elephant in the room. I should have expected it. The first thing Peter wants to see when he arrives in Nevada aren't Hoover Dam or the Strip, but my father's ball machine. He's heard all about it, and now he wants to study it up close. I drive him to my father's house, and along the way he chatters amiably, but I don't understand much. Is it German? No, it's a hybrid of German and English and tennis. He's asking questions about my father's game. How often does my father play? How well does he play? He's trying to size up my father before we get there. My father doesn't do well with people who don't speak perfect English, and he doesn't do well with strangers, so I know we have 2 strikes on us as we walk through my parents' front door. I'm relieved, however, to see that sport is a universal language, and that these 2 men, both aficionados, both former athletes, know how to use their bodies to communicate, through swings and gestures and grunts. I tell my father that Peter would like to see the famous ball machine. My father is flattered. He takes us outside to his backyard court and wheels out the dragon. He revs the motor, raises the pedestal high. He's talking nonstop, giving Peter a lecture, shouting to be heard above the dragon, blissfully unaware that Peter doesn't understand a word. "Go stand there," my father tells me. He hands me a racket, points me to the other side of the court, aims the machine at my head. "Demonstrate," he says. I'm having shuddering, violent flashbacks, and only the thought of the tequila waiting for me back home keeps me functioning. Peter positions himself behind me and watches while I hit. "Ah," he says, "ja, good." My father cranks up the machine. He clicks the dial until the balls are coming at almost in 2s. My father must have added a gear to the dragon. I don't remember balls ever coming this fast. I don't have time to bring back my racket and hit the second ball. Peter scolds me for missing. He takes the racket from me, pushes me aside. "This," he says, "is the shot you should have had. You never had this shot." He shows me the famous Stephanie slice, which he claims to have taught Stephanie. "You need a quieter racket," he says, "like this." My father is livid. In the first place, Peter isn't listening to my father's lecture. In the second place, Peter is interfering with my father's star pupil. My father comes around the net shouting, "That slice is bullshit. If Stephanie had this shot, she would have been better off." He then demonstrates the 2-handed backhand he taught me. "With this shot," my father says, "Stephanie would have won 32 slams." The 2 men can't understand each other, and yet they're managing a heated argument. I turn my back, concentrate on hitting balls. I train all my attention on the dragon. Occasionally I hear Peter mention my rivals, Pete and Rafter, and then my father responds with Stephanie's nemesis, Monica Seles and Lindsay Davenport. My father then mentions boxing. He uses a boxing analogy, and Peter howls in protest. "I was a boxer too," Peter says, "and I would have knocked you out." You can say a lot of things to my father, but not that. Never that. I cringe, knowing what's coming. I wheel just in time to see Stephanie's 63-year-old father take off his shirt and tell my 69-year-old father, "Look at me. Look at the shape I'm in. I'm taller than you. I can keep you at bay with my jab." My father says, "You think so? Come on, you and me." Peter is trash-talking in German. My father is trash-talking in Assyrian, and they're both putting up their fists. They're circling, feinting, bobbing and weaving. And just before one of them throws hands, I step in, push them apart. My father shouts, "This fucker is talking shit." "That may be, Pops, but please." They're winded, sweating. My father's eyes are dilated. Peter's bare chest is beaded with sweat. They see, however, that I'm not going to let them mix it up, so they go to neutral corners. I turn off the dragon, and we all walk off the court. At home, Stephanie kisses me and asks how it went. "I'll tell you later," I say, reaching for the tequila. I don't know when a margarita has ever tasted so good. After playing well in the Davis Cup, I lose early in Scottsdale, a tournament I typically own. I play poorly in Atlanta and pull a hamstring. I lose in the 3rd round in Rome and realize, reluctantly, that this can't go on. I can't play every tournament. Approaching 30 years old, I must choose my battles more carefully. Every other interview now is about the end. I tell reporters that my best tennis is ahead of me, and they smile wincingly as if they hope I'm kidding. I've never been more serious. When the time comes to defend at the 2000 French Open, I walk into Roland Garros expecting to feel waves of nostalgia. But it's all different. The place has been renovated. They've added more seats. They've redone the locker rooms. I don't like it. Not one bit. I wanted Roland Garros to stay the same forever. I want everything to stay the same. I hope to walk on center court every year and conjure up 1999, when life changed. At the news conference, after my win against Medvedev, I told reporters that I could now leave tennis with no regrets. But 1 year later, I realized that I was wrong. I will always have one regret, that I can't go back and relive the 1999 French Open again and again. In the second round, I face Kusura. He always has my number. The mere sight of me fills him with a quart of adrenaline. Even when I see him in the locker room before our match, he looks as if he's just been reminiscing about the last time he beat me at the 1998 U.S. Open. He comes out playing superbly, running me ragged, and though I'm keeping pace, I develop blisters all over my right foot. I limp to the side and ask for an injury timeout. A trainer retapes my foot, but the real blister is on my brain. I don't win another game from that point on. I look up at my box. Stephanie has her head down. She's never seen me lose like this. Later, I tell her that I don't understand why I sometimes come apart. Still, she gives me insights from her experience. Stop thinking, she says. Feeling is the thing. Feeling. It's nothing I haven't heard before. It sounds like a sweeter, softer version of my father. But when Stephanie says it, the words go in deeper. We talk for days about thinking versus feeling. She says it's one thing not to think, but you can't then decide to feel. You can't try to feel. You have to let yourself feel. Other times, Stephanie knows there's nothing to be said. She touches my cheek and tilts her head, and I see that she gets it, that she's been there. And that's enough. That's exactly what I need. We go to the 2000 Wimbledon. I take great pleasure in watching Stephanie explore London. At last, she says, she can actually see this beautiful city because she's not looking at it through a haze of pressure and injuries. Tennis players travel as much as any athletes, but the stress and rigors of the game keep us from seeing. Now Stephanie gets to see everything. She walks everywhere, exploring all the shops and parks. She drops into a famous pancake restaurant she's always wanted to try. It serves 150 different kinds of pancake, and she samples just about every kind without having to worry about feeling heavy-footed on the court. True to form, I see nothing in London but my draw. With blinders on, I fight my way to the semis. I face Rafter. He's putting together a beautiful career. Two-time U.S. Open champ, former number one. Now they say he's trying to come back from shoulder surgery, though he's acing me left and right. When he's not acing me, he's dancing in behind his serve, letting nothing pass. I try lobbing him. I hit what feel like unreturnable shots as they leave my racket, but he always gets back in time. We play for 3.5 hours, high-quality tennis, and it all comes down to the 6th game of the 5th set. Trying to put something extra on a second serve, a double fault. Break point. I serve, he hits a crisp return. I net the ball. I can't break him back. He's landing 74% of his first serves, and he first serves his way into the final. He's earned the right to play Pete for the championship. I wanted to play Pete with Stephanie watching, but it's not to be. A year ago, I beat Rafter here in the semis when he felt the first twinges in his shoulder. Now he comes back and beats me in the semis with his shoulder fully healed. I like Rafter, and I like symmetry. I can't argue with that storyline. Stephanie and I fly home. I need rest. Then the bad news starts pouring in. My sister Tammy has gotten a diagnosis of breast cancer. Days later, my mother gets the same diagnosis. I give up my spot on the Olympic team going to Sydney. I want to spend as much time as possible with my family. I need to shut down for the year, until January at least. My mother won't hear of it. Go, she says, play, do your job. I try. I go to D.C., but play the way I always do when I can't concentrate. Against Coretta, I break 3 rackets in anger and lose in 2 spiritless sets. At the 2000 U.S. Open, I'm the number 1 seed, the favorite to win it. On the eve of the tournament, I sit with Gil at the Lowell Hotel, feeling not favored but fucked. It should be a happy time. I could win this thing. I could shock the world, and I don't care. Gil, why go on? Maybe you shouldn't. Why do I feel this way, the old way, again? It's a rhetorical question. Casey is fully recovered, thriving, talking about college, but Gil never forgets what it's like to have someone you love lying in a hospital bed. He knows what I'm saying without my saying it. Why must the people we love suffer? Why can't life be perfect? Why every day somewhere on this earth does someone have to lose? You can't play, Gil says, unless you feel inspired. That's your nature. That's always been your nature, since you were 19 years old. But you can't feel inspired unless the people around you are okay. I love you for that. I'm letting people down if I don't play. I'm letting my family down if I do. He nods. Why do tennis and life always seem opposed? He says nothing. We've done it, haven't we? I mean, we've run the race, right? We're at the end of this bullshit, no? I can't answer that, he says. I only know that there is still more inside you, and there is more inside me. If we walk away, fine, but we still have something left, and I think you promised yourself that you were going to see your game to the finish line. On the first day of practice, hitting with Brad, I can't make a serve to save my life. I walk off the court, and Brad knows not to ask. I go back to the hotel and lie on the bed and stare at the ceiling for 2 hours, knowing I'm not going to be in New York for long. In the first round, I play a Stanford student, Alex Kim, who's sick with anxiety. I feel for him, but take him out in straight sets. In the second round, I meet Clement. It's a hot day, and we both have a full sweat going before the first point. I start fine, break him, go ahead 3-1. All's well. Then, suddenly, I've never played tennis before. In front of a packed house, I disintegrate. Again, the sports writers sound the old dirge, the in-ears for Agassi. Gil tries to tell them what I'm going through. He says Andre is fueled by his heart, emotions, and beliefs, and those he holds dearest to him. When all is not well, you can see it in his actions. On the way out of Arthur Ashe Stadium, a young girl says, "I'm sorry you lost." "Oh, honey, don't be too sorry." She smiles. I hurry home to Vegas to spend time with my mother, but she's untroubled, absorbed in her books and jigsaw puzzles, putting the rest of us to shame with her unshakable calm. I see that I've underestimated her through the years. I've mistaken her silence for weakness, acquiescence. I see that she is what my father made her, as we all are, and yet, beneath the surface, she's so much more. I also see that, in this perilous moment of her life, she'd like a little credit. I've always taken it for granted that my mother wanted to be taken for granted, that she wanted to blend into the woodwork. But what she wants right now is to be noticed, appreciated. She wants me to know that she's stronger than I suspected. She's getting her treatments, not complaining, and if she takes pride in this, if she wants me to be proud, she also wants me to know I've made of the same stuff. She survived my father, as did I. She'll survive this, and I will too. Tammy, getting treatment in Seattle, is also doing better. She's had surgery, and before she starts chemotherapy, she comes to Vegas to spend time with the family. She tells me she's dreading the loss of her hair. I tell her I don't know why. Losing my hair was the best thing that ever happened to me. She laughs. She says maybe it would be a good idea to get rid of her hair before the cancer takes it. An act of defiance, a seizing of control. I like the sound of that, I say. I'll help. We arrange a barbecue at my house, and before everyone arrives, we shut ourselves into a bathroom. With only Philly and Stephanie as witnesses, we hold a formal head-shaving ceremony. Tammy wants me to do the honors. She hands me the electric shearer. I set the blade at 000, the tightest setting, and ask if she wants a mohawk first. This might be your last chance to see how you look with one. No, she says. Let's just go for broke. I shave her fast and close. She smiles like Elvis on the day he went into the army. As her hair cascades to the floor, I tell her everything's going to be great. You're free now, Tammy. Free. Also, I tell her, at least your hair will grow back. With me and Philly, it's gone forever, baby. She laughs, and it feels good to make my sister laugh when every day does its best to make her cry. By November 2000, my family is sufficiently on the mend that I'm ready to train again. In January, we fly to Australia. I feel good when we land. I do love this place. I must have been an aborigine in another life. I always feel at home here. I always enjoy walking into Rod Laver Arena, playing under Laver's name. I bet Brad that I'm going to win the whole thing. I can feel it. And when I do, he will have to jump in the Yarra River, a fetid, polluted tributary that winds through Melbourne. I batter my way to the semis and face Rafter again. We play 3 hours of hammer and tong tennis, filled with endless I grunt, you grunt rallies. He's ahead 2-1. Then he withers. The Australian heat. We're both drenched with sweat, but he's cramping. I win the next 2 sets. In the final, I face Clément, a grudge match 4 months after he knocked me out of the U.S. Open. I rarely leave the baseline. I make a few mistakes, and those I do make, I put quickly behind me. While Clément is muttering to himself in French, I feel a serene calm. My mother's son. I beat him in straight sets. It's my 7th slam, putting me 10th on the all-time list. I'm tied with McEnroe, Wielander, and others, one ahead of Becker and Edberg. Wielander and I are the only ones to win 3 Australian Opens in the Open era. At the moment, however, all I care about is seeing Brad do the backstroke in the Yarra, then getting home to Stephanie. We spend the early part of 2001 nesting at Bachelor Pad 2, converting it from Bachelor Pad to proper home. We shop for furniture that we both like. We give small dinner parties. We talk late into the night about the future. She buys me a kitchen chalkboard for honey-do lists, but I convert it into an appreciation board. I hang the board on the kitchen wall and promise Stephanie that every evening I'll write something about my love for her, and the next evening I'll wipe the board clean and write something new. I also buy a crate of 1989 Bechevel, and we promise to share a bottle every year on the anniversary of our first date. At Indian Wells, I reach the final and face Pete. I beat him, and in the locker room after the match, he tells me about his new life. He's recently married Bridget Wilson, the actress. I'm still allergic to actress, I say. He laughs, but I'm not kidding. He tells me he met her on the set of a movie. Love stinks. I laugh, but he's not kidding. There is much I want to say to Pete about marriage, about actresses, but I can't. Ours isn't that kind of relationship. There is much I'd like to ask him about how he stays so focused, about whether or not he regrets devoting so much of his life to tennis. Our different personalities, our ongoing rivalry, preclude such intimacy. I realize that despite the effect we've had on each other, despite our quasi-friendship, we're strangers and may always be. I wish him the best, and I mean it. And to my mind, being with the right woman is true happiness. After all the time I've spent putting together my so-called team, the only thing I want now is to feel like a valued member of Stephanie's team. I hope he feels the same way about his bride. I hope he cares as much about his place in her heart as he seems to care about his place in history. I wish I could tell him so. An hour after the tournament, Stephanie and I give a tennis lesson. Wayne Gretzky bought us at a charity auction, and he wants us to teach his kids. We have fun with the Gretzkys. Then, as darkness falls, we drive slowly back to Los Angeles. Along the way, we talk about how cute the kids were. I think of the Costner kids. Stephanie squints out the window, then at me. She says, "I think I'm late." "What for?" "Late." "Oh, you mean, oh." We step at several drugstores, buy every kind of pregnancy test on the shelves, then hole up at the Hotel Bel Air. Stephanie goes into the bathroom, and when she comes out, her expression is unreadable. She hands me the stick. Blue. What does blue mean? I think it means, a boy? I think it means I'm pregnant. She does the test again and again. Blue every time. It's what we both wanted, and she's delighted, but frightened too. So many changes. What will happen to her body? We only have a few hours left together before I catch a red-eye to Miami and she flies to Germany. We go out to dinner to Matsuhisa. We sit at the sushi bar, holding hands, telling each other it's going to be fantastic. I don't realize until later that this is the same restaurant where it all unraveled with Brooke. Just like tennis, the same court on which you suffer your bloodiest defeat can become the scene of your sweetest triumph. After we're done eating and crying and celebrating, I say, "I guess we should get married." Her eyes widen. "I guess so." There will be no hoopla, we decide. No church, no cake, no dress. We'll do it on a free day during a lull in the tennis season. I sit down for an hour-long interview with Charlie Rose, the genial TV host, during which I lie through my teeth. I don't mean to lie, but each question Rose asks seems to come with an implied answer, an answer he's ready and eager to hear. "Did you love tennis at an early age?" "Yes." "You loved the game." "I would sleep with a racket." You look back on what your father did for you. Do you say now, "I'm glad that he gave me those early things that made me tough"? I'm definitely glad that I play tennis. I'm glad my dad started me in tennis. I sound as though I've been hypnotized or brainwashed, which isn't new. I say the same things I've said before, the same things I've mouthed during countless news conferences and interviews and cocktail party conversations. Are they lies if I've come to partially believe them? Are they lies if, through sheer repetition, they've taken on a veneer of truth? This time, however, the lies sound and feel different. They hang in the air. They have a bitter aftertaste. When the interview is over, I feel a vague queasiness. Not guilt so much, but regret. A sense of missed opportunity. I wonder what would have happened, what Rose might have done or said, how much more we might have enjoyed the hour if I'd leveled with him, and with myself. Actually, Charlie, I hate tennis. The queasiness stays with me for days. It gets worse when the interview airs. I promise myself that one day I'll look an interviewer of Rose's stature right in the eye and tell him the unvarnished truth. At the 2001 French Open, an invisible person is in my box. Stephanie is 4 months along, and the presence of our unborn child gives me the legs of a teenager. I reach the round of 16 and play Scolari, with whom I have such history. It feels as we walk onto the court as if we have more history than France has with England. The sight of Scolari takes me straight back to 1999, one of the toughest matches of my career. One of the turning points. If he'd beaten me that day, 2 years ago, I don't know if I'd be here. I don't know if Stephanie would be here, and therefore our unborn child wouldn't be here. Inspired by these thoughts, I'm locked in. As the match wears on, I grow fresher, more focused. My concentration is unbreakable. An unruly fan yells something obscene about me. I laugh. I take a nasty fall, twisting and cutting my knee. I shrug it off. Nothing can deter me, least of all Scolari. Gradually, I lose all awareness of him. I'm out here by myself, more so than usual. In the quarters, I play Sébastien Grosjean from France. I breeze through the first set, losing only one game. Then Grosjean taps into some hidden reservoir of faith that he can win. Now our self-confidence is equal, but his shot-making is superior. He breaks me to go up 2-0, and then breaks me again and wins the second set as easily as I won the first. In the third set, he breaks me right away, winning the game with a pretty lob. Then he holds, then breaks me again. I'm done for. In the fourth set, I have chances to break his serve, but I can't capitalize. I hit a backhand that's weak, unworthy of me, and as I watch it sail wide, I know I'm running out of time. He's serving for the match. I'm holding on by my fingernails, and then I net a forehand. Match point. He closes me out with an ace. Afterward, reporters ask if my concentration was broken by the arrival of President Bill Clinton. Of all the reasons I've ever heard and offered for losing a match, even I couldn't come up with one that lame. I didn't even know Clinton was there, I tell them. I had other things on my mind, other invisible spectators. I bring Stephanie into Gil's gym under the guise of a workout. She's beaming because she knows why we're really here. Gil asks Stephanie if she's feeling all right, if she'd like something to drink, if she'd like to sit. He guides her to an exercise cycle, and she mounts side saddle. She studies the shelf Gil has built along one wall to hold the trophies from my slams, including those I've replaced since my post-friends tantrum. I fiddle with a stretching cord and then say, So, Gil, listen, we've picked out a name for our son. Oh, what is it? Jaden. I like that, Gil says, smiling, nodding. Yes, I do. I like that. And we also think we've got the perfect middle name. What's that? Gil. He stares. I say, Jaden Gil Agassi. If he grows up to be half the man you are, he'll be phenomenally successful. And if I can be half the father you've been to me, I'll have surpassed my own standards. Stephanie is crying. My eyes are filled with tears. Gil is standing 10 feet away in front of the leg extension machine. He has his trademark pencil behind his ear, his glasses on the end of his nose, and his Da Vinci notebook open. He reaches me in 3 steps and folds me in his arms. I feel his necklace against my cheek. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. I'm close to beating Rafter at the 2001 Wimbledon, 5th set, serving for the match, 2 points from winning. I net a tentative forehand. On the next point, I miss an easy backhand. He's broken back. Now it's he who thinks he's close to beating me. I shout, Motherfucker! A lineswoman promptly reports me to the umpire. I get an obscenity warning. Now I can think of nothing but this busybody lineswoman. I lose the set 8-6 and the match. It feels disappointing and unimportant at the same time. Along with Stephanie's health and our budding family, my thoughts are never far from my school, which is due to open this fall with 200 students, grades 3 through 5, though we have plans to expand quickly to include kindergarten through 12th grade. In 2 years, we'll have the middle school built. In another 2 years, the high school. I love our concepts, our designs, but I'm particularly proud of our commitment to putting money behind our ideas. Lots of money. Harry and I were horrified to learn that Nevada spends less than almost any other state on education, $68,000 per pupil, as compared with the national average of nearly $86,000. Thus, at my school, we've vowed to make up the difference, and then some. Through a mix of state funding and private donors, we're going to invest heavily in kids and thereby prove that in education, as in all things, you get what you pay for. We're also going to keep our kids in school more hours each day, 8 instead of Nevada's customary 6. If I've learned nothing else, it's that time and practice equal achievement. Further, we're going to insist that parents become intimately involved with the school. At least one parent per child will be required to spend 12 hours a month volunteering as a student aide in the classrooms or a monitor on school trips. We want parents to feel like shareholders. We want them fully committed and responsible for getting their children into college. Many days when I feel run down or low, I drive to the neighborhood and watch the school take shape. Of all my contradictions, this is the most amazing and the most amusing. A boy who despised and feared school becomes a man inspired and re-energized by the sight of his own school being built. I can't be there on opening day, however. I'm playing in the 2001 U.S. Open. I'm playing for the school, therefore playing my best. I burn through 4 rounds and meet Pete in the quarters. From the moment we come out of the tunnel, we know this will be our fiercest battle yet. We just know. It's the 32nd time we've played. He leads 17-14, and each of us wears an unusually grim game face. Right here, right now, this one will decide the rivalry. Winner take all. Pete is supposed to be at half speed. He hasn't won a slam in 14 months. He's been balky and openly talking retirement. But all of that is irrelevant because he's playing me. Still, I win the first set in a tiebreak, and now I feel good about my chances. I have a 49-1 record at this tournament when I win the first set. Someone please remind Pete of the stats. He wins the second set in a tiebreak. The third set also goes to a tiebreak. I make several foolish mistakes. Fatigue. He wins the third set. In the fourth set, we have several epic rallies. We go to still another tiebreak. We've played 3 hours, and neither of us has yet broken the other's serve. It's after midnight. The fans, 23,000 plus, rise. They won't let us start the fourth tiebreak. Stomping and clapping, they're staging their own tiebreak. Before we press on, they want to say thanks. I'm moved. I see that Pete is moved, but I can't think about the fans. I can't let myself think about anything but reaching the sanctuary of a fifth set. Pete knows that the advantage tips in my direction if this goes 5 sets. He knows that he needs to play a perfect tiebreak to prevent a fifth set, and so he does. A night of flawless tennis ends with my forehand in the net. Pete screams. I actually feel my pulse decrease. I don't feel bad. I try to feel bad, but I can't. I wonder if I'm growing accustomed to losing to Pete in big matches or simply growing content with my career and life. Whatever the case, I put my hand on Pete's shoulder and wish him well. And though it doesn't feel like goodbye, it feels like a rehearsal for a goodbye that can't be far off. In October 2001, 3 days before Stephanie is due to give birth, we invite our mothers and a Nevada judge to the house. I love watching Stephanie with my mother, the 2 shy women in my life. Stephanie often brings her a couple of new jigsaw puzzles, and I adore Stephanie's mother, Heidi. She looks like Stephanie, so she had me at Guten Tag. Stephanie and I, barefoot, wearing jeans, stand before the judge in the courtyard. For wedding bands, we use twists of old raffia Stephanie found in a drawer, the same stuff I used to decorate her first birthday card. Neither of us notices the coincidence until later. My father insists he's not the least bit slighted by not getting an invite. He doesn't want an invite. The last thing he wants to do is attend a wedding. He doesn't like weddings. He walked out in the middle of my first. He doesn't care where or when or how I make Stephanie my wife, he says, so long as I do it. She's the greatest women's tennis player of all time, he says. What's not to like? The judge runs through his legal rigmarole, and Stephanie and I are just about to say I do when a team of landscapers arrive. I run outside and ask them to please turn off their lawnmowers and leaf blowers for 5 minutes so that we can get married. They apologize. One holds a finger over his lips. By the power vested in me, the judge says, and at long last, with 2 mothers and 3 landscapers looking on, Steffi Graf becomes Stephanie Agassi. Chapter 26. A season of birth and rebirth. Weeks after my school opens, my son arrives. In the delivery room, when the doctor hands me Jaden Gill, I feel bewildered. I love him so much that my heart splits open, like something overripe. I can't wait to get to know him, and yet. I also wonder, just who is this beautiful intruder? Are Stephanie and I ready for a perfect stranger in the house? I'm a stranger to myself. What will I be to my son? Will he like me? We bring Jaden home, and I spend hours staring at him. I ask him who he is, where he came from, what he'll be. I ask myself how I can be everything to him that I needed and never had. I want to retire immediately, spend all my time with him. But now more than ever, I need to play for him, his future, and my other children at my school. My first match as a father is a win against Rafter at the Tennis Masters Series tournament in Sydney. I tell reporters afterward that I doubt I'll be able to do this long enough that my new son will get to see me play, but it sure is a nice dream. Then I pull out of the 2002 Australian Open. My wrist is throbbing, and I can't compete. Brad is frustrated. I wouldn't expect anything less, but this time he has trouble brushing aside his frustration. This time it's different. Days later, he says we need to talk. We meet for coffee, and he lays it out. We had a great run, Andre, but we've gone as far as we can go. We're growing stagnant. Creatively, I've burned through my bag of tricks, buddy. But we've had 8 years. We could go on a few more, but you're 32. You have a new family, new interests. It might not be such a bad idea to find a new voice for your home stretch. Someone can re-motivate you. He pauses. He looks at me, then looks away. Bottom line, he says, we're so close. My worst fear is that we get into an argument as the end approaches and it carries over. I think that could never happen, but better safe than sorry. We hug. As he walks out the door, I feel the kind of melancholy you feel on a Sunday night after an idyllic weekend. I know Brad does too. It might not be the right way to end our journey, but it's the best way possible. I close my eyes and try to picture myself with someone new. The first face I see is Darren Cahill. He's just finished a brilliant span coaching Leighton Hewitt, who's ranked number 1 and among the best shot selectors in the history of tennis, and a great deal of the credit must go to Darren. Also, I recently bumped into Darren down in Sydney, and we had a long talk about fatherhood. It was a bonding moment. Darren, a fellow new father, turned me on to a book about getting infants to sleep. He swore by this book and said his son is known on tour as the baby who sleeps like a drunkard. I've always liked Darren. I like his easygoing style. I find his Aussie accent soothing. It almost puts me to sleep. I read the book he recommended and phoned Stephanie from Australia to read her passages. It worked. Now I dial him and tell him I've parted from Brad. I ask if he has any interest in the job. He says he's flattered, but he's on the verge of signing to Coach Safin. He'll think about it, though, and get back to me. No problem, I say. Take your time. I call him back in half an hour. I ask him, what the hell is there to think about? You can't coach Safin. He's a loose cannon. You've got to work with me. It feels right. I promise you, Darren, I have game left. I'm not done. I'm focused. I just need someone to help me keep the focus. Okay, he says, laughing. Okay, mate. He never once mentions money. Stephanie and Jaden come home with me to Key Biscayne. It's April 2002, days before my 32nd birthday, and the tournament is crawling with players half my age, young Turks like Andy Roddick, the next savior of American tennis, poor bastard. Also, there's a hot new wonderkind from Switzerland named Roger Federer. I'd like to win this tournament for my wife and 6-month-old son, and yet I don't worry about losing, don't care if I lose, because of them. Each night, within minutes of coming home from the courts, as I'm cradling Jaden and cuddling Stephanie, I can barely recall if I won or lost. Tennis fades as quickly as the daylight. I almost imagine that the calluses on my playing hand are disappearing, the inflamed nerves in my back cooling and mending. I'm a father first, a tennis player second, and this evolution happens without my being aware. One morning, Stephanie goes off to buy groceries and get in a fast workout. She dares to leave me alone with Jaden, my first time flying solo. "You two going to be okay?" she asks. Of course. I sit Jaden on the bathroom counter, lean him against the mirror, let him play with my toothbrush while I get ready. He likes to suck on toothbrush while watching me shave my head with the electric shearers. I ask him, "What do you think of your bald daddy?" He smiles. "You know, son, I was once like you, long hair flowing in every direction. You're not fooling anyone with that comb over." He smiles wider, no idea what I'm saying, of course. I measure his hair with my fingers. "Actually, you look a little ratty there, buddy. You could use a cleanup." I put a different attachment on the shearer, the attachment for trimming. When I run the shearer across Jaden's little head, however, it leaves a bright stripe of scalp down the middle, as white as a baseline. Wrong attachment. Stephanie will murder me. I need to even this boy's hair out before she gets home. But in the frantic attempt to even out the hair, I make it shorter. Before I know what's happened, my son is balder than I. He looks like mini-me. When Stephanie comes through the door, she stops in her tracks and stares, saucer-eyed. "What the... Andre," she says, "what on earth is the matter with you? I'll leave you alone for 45 minutes and you shave the baby?" Then she lets fly a burst of histrionic German. I tell her it was an accident, the wrong attachment. I beg her forgiveness. "I know," I say, "it looks like I did this on purpose. I know I'm always joking about wanting to shave the world, but honest, Stephanie, this was a mistake." I try to remind her of that old wives' tale, that if you shave a child's head, the hair will grow back faster and thicker, but she holds up a hand and starts laughing. She's bent over laughing. Now Jaden is laughing at Mommy laughing. Now we're all giggling, rubbing Jaden's head and mine, joking that the only one left is Stephanie, and she better sleep with one eye open. I'm laughing too hard to speak, and days later, in the final of Key Biscayne, I beat Federer. It's a good win. He's as hot as anyone on tour. He came into this tournament with 23 wins so far this year. It's my 51st tournament victory, my 700th victory overall, and yet I have no doubt I'll remember this tournament less for beating Federer than for that one belly laugh. I wonder if the laugh had something to do with the win. It's easier to be free and loose, to be yourself after laughing with the ones you love, the right attachments. I fall into a nice groove with Darren in early 2002. We speak the same language, see the world in similar colors. Then he cements my trust, my unwavering confidence, by daring to fuss with my racket strings and improving them. I've always played with Pro Blend, a string that's half Kevlar, half nylon. You can reel in an 800-pound marlin with Pro Blend. It never breaks, never forgives, but also never generates spin. It's like hitting the ball with a garbage can lid. People talk about the game changing, about players growing more powerful and rackets getting bigger, but the most dramatic change in recent years is the strings. The advent of a new elastic polyester string, which creates vicious topspin, has turned average players into greats and greats into legends. Still, I've always been reluctant to change. Now Darren urges me to try. We're in Italy at the Italian Open. I've just played Nicholas Kiefer from Germany in the first round. I've beaten him 6-3, 6-2, and I'm telling Darren that I should have lost. I played lousy. I have no confidence on this dirt, I tell him. The clay game has passed me by. Give the new strings a go, mate. I frown. I'm skeptical. I tried changing my racket once. It wasn't pretty. He puts the strings on one of my rackets and says again, just try. In a practice session, I don't miss a ball for 2 hours. Then I don't miss a ball for the rest of the tournament. I've never won the Italian Open before, but I win it now because of Darren and his miracle string. I suddenly look forward to the 2002 French Open. I'm excited, eager for the fight, and guardedly optimistic. I'm coming off a win, Jaden is sleeping a bit more, and I have a new weapon. In the fourth round, I'm down 2 sets and a break to a wild card, a Frenchman named Paul-Henri Mathieu. He's 20, but he's not in the shape I'm in. There's no clock in tennis, son. I can be out here all day. Down comes the rain. I sit in the locker room and reminisce about Brad yelling at me in 1999. I hear his tirade, word for word. When we walk back onto the court, I'm smiling. I'm up 40-love, and Mathieu breaks me. I don't care. I simply break back. In the 5th set, he goes up 3-1. Again, I refuse to lose. If it had been anyone but Agassi, Mathieu tells reporters afterward, I would have won. Next, I face Juan Carlos Ferrero from Spain. Again, it rains. This time, I ask that the match be halted for the night. Ferrero is ahead, and he doesn't want to stop. He gets surly when officials grant my request and suspend the match. The next day, he takes his surliness out on me. I have a small opportunity in the 3rd set, but he quickly closes it. He wins the set, and I can see his confidence rising off him like steam as he closes me out. I feel peaceful walking with Darren off the court. I like the way I played. I made mistakes. My game sprang leaks, but I know we'll work to patch them. My back is sore, but mostly from stooping to help Jaden walk. A wonderful soreness. Weeks later, we go to the 2002 Wimbledon, and my great new attitude abandons me because my new string undoes me. On grass, my newly augmented topspin makes the ball sit up like a helium balloon. In the 2nd round, I play Paradorn Srikofan from Thailand. He's good, but not this good. He's crushing everything I hit. He's ranked number 67, and I think it's impossible that he'll beat me. And then he breaks me in the 1st set. I try everything to get back on track. Nothing works. My ball is a cream puff, and Srikofan devours it. I've never seen an opponent's eyes grow quite so large as Srikofan's when he tees up on my forehand. He's swinging from his heels, and my only conscious, coherent thought is, I wish I could swing from my heels and be rewarded. How can I let everyone in this stadium know that this isn't me, this isn't my fault, it's the strings? In the 2nd set, I make adjustments, fight back, play well, but Srikofan is supremely confident. He thinks it's his day, and when you think it's your day, it usually is. He hits a wild shot that magically catches a piece of the back line, then wins a tie break, going up 2 sets. In the 3rd set, I surrender peacefully. It's cold comfort that the next day, Pete loses. Darren and I spend the next 2 days experimenting with different combinations of strings. I tell him I can't continue with this new polyester, and yet he's ruined me for the old string. If I have to go back to Pro Blend, I say, I won't play tennis anymore. He looks grim. After being my coach for 6 months, he's made one tiny adjustment to my strings, and he may have inadvertently hastened my retirement. He promises that he'll do everything in his power to find a combination of strings that's just right. Find something, I tell him, that lets me swing from my heels and get rewarded, like Srikofan. Make me like Srikofan. Done, mate. He works night and day and comes up with a combination he likes. We go to Los Angeles, and it's perfection. I win the Mercedes-Benz Cup. We go to Cincinnati, and I play well, just not well enough to win. Then in D.C., I beat Inkvist, always a tough matchup for me. I then face another kid who's supposed to be the next big thing, 22-year-old James Blake. He plays pretty, graceful tennis, and I'm not in his league, not today. He's simply younger, faster, a better athlete. He also thinks enough of my history, my accomplishments, to bring his A game. I like that he comes out loaded for bear. It's flattering, even though it means I have no chance. The loss is nothing I can blame on my strings. I go to the 2002 U.S. Open unsure what to expect from myself. I sail through the early rounds, and in the quarters, I face Max Mernyi, a Belarusian from Minsk. They call him the Beast, and it's an understatement. He's 6'5" and hits a serve that's amongst the scariest I've ever faced. It has a burning yellow tail like a comet, and it arcs high above the net and then swoops down upon you. I have no answer for that serve. He wins the first set with beastly ease. In the second set, however, Mernyi makes several unforced errors, giving me a boost, a bit of momentum. I start to see his first serve a little better. We play high-quality tennis all the way to the finish, and when his last forehand flies long, I can't believe it. I'm in the semis. For my efforts, I win a date with Hewitt, the number 1 seed, the winner of this year's Wimbledon. More germane, he's Darren's former pupil. That Darren coached Hewitt for years adds an extra level of intensity and pressure. Darren wants me to beat Hewitt. I want to beat Hewitt for Darren. But in the first set, I quickly fall behind 0-3. I have all this information in my head about Hewitt, data from Darren and from past experience, but it takes a while to sort through the data and solve him. When I do, everything quickly changes. I storm back and win the first set 6-4. I see the pilot light in Hewitt's eyes go out. I win the second set. He rallies, wins the third. In the fourth set, he suddenly can't make a first serve, and I'm able to pounce on his second serve. Jesus, I'm in the final. Which means Pete. As always, Pete. We've played 33 times in our careers, 4 times in slam finals. He's got the overall edge, 19-14, and 3-1 in slam finals. He says I bring out the best in him, but I think he's brought out the worst in me. The night before the final, I can't help but think of all the different times I thought I was going to beat Pete, knew I was going to beat Pete, needed to beat Pete, only to lose. And his success against me started right here in New York 12 years ago when he stunned me in straight sets. I was the favorite then, as I am now. Sipping Gil's magic water before bed, I tell myself that this time will be different. Pete hasn't won a slam in more than 2 years. He's nearing the end. I'm just starting over. I climb under the covers and remember a time in Palm Springs several years ago. Brad and I were eating at an Italian restaurant, Mama Gina's, and we saw Pete eating with friends on the other side of the dining room. He stopped by and said hello on his way out. Good luck tomorrow. You too. Then we watched him through the restaurant window, waiting for his car. We said nothing, each of us thinking of the difference he'd made in our lives. As Pete drove away, I asked Brad how much he thought Pete tipped the valet. Brad hooted. $5 tops. No way, I said. The guy's got millions. He's earned $40 million in prize money alone. He's got to be good for at least a 10 spot. Bet? Bet. We ate fast and rushed outside. Listen, I told the valet, give us the absolute truth. How much did Mr. Sampras tip you? The kid looked at his feet. He didn't want to tell. He was weighing, wondering if he was on a hidden camera show. We told the kid we had a bet riding on this, so we absolutely were insisting he tell us. Finally, he whispered, You really want to know? Shoot. He gave me $1. Brad put a hand on his heart. But that's not all, the kid said. He gave me $1, and he told me to be sure to give it to whichever kid actually brought the car around. We could not be more different, Pete and I, and as I fall asleep the night before, perhaps our final, I vow that the world will see our differences tomorrow. We get a late start thanks to a New York Jets game that goes into overtime, delaying the TV broadcast, and this favors me. I'm in better shape, and I like that we're going to be out on the court until midnight. But I immediately fall behind 2 sets, another drubbing at the hands of Pete. I cannot believe this is happening. Then I notice Pete looking wrung out and old. I win the third set by a mile, and the whole stadium can feel the momentum slide my way. The crowd is crazy. They don't care who wins. They just want to see an Agassi Sampras 5-setter. As the fourth set gets underway, I know deep in my heart, as I always know with Pete, that if I can get this thing to a fifth set, I'll win. I'm fresher. I'm playing better. We're the oldest players to meet in the U.S. Open final in more than 30 years, but I'm feeling like one of the teenagers who have lately been kicking ass on tour. I feel like part of the new generation. At 1-2, Pete is serving, and I have 2 break points. If I win this game, I'll take control of the set. So this is it, the game of the match. He locks in, saves the first, and on the second break point, I hit a scorching return at his shoes. I think the ball is well behind him. I'm already celebrating, but somehow he returns and finds it and hits a half volley that flops and dies on my side of the net. Deuce. I'm spooked. Pete closes out the game, then goes on to break me. Soon he's serving for the match, and when Pete serves for a match, he's a cold-blooded killer. Everything happens very fast. Ace, blur, backhand volley, no way to reach it. Applause, handshake at the net. Pete gives me a friendly smile, a pat on the back, but the expression on his face is unmistakable. I've seen it before. Here's a buck, kid. Bring my car around. Chapter 27. I open my eyes slowly. I'm on the floor beside my bed. I sit up to say good morning to Stephanie, then realize she's in Vegas and I'm in St. Petersburg. No, wait. St. Petersburg was last week. I'm in Paris. No, Paris was after St. Petersburg. I'm in Shanghai. Yes, that's right, China. I go to the window, draw back the curtains, a skyline designed by someone on mushrooms, a skyline that looks like a sci-fi Vegas. Every building is crazily different, and all set against a hard blue sky. It doesn't matter where I am, strictly speaking, because parts of me are still in Russia and France and the last dozen places I've played, and the biggest part of me, as always, is home with Stephanie and Jaden. No matter where I am, however, the tennis court is the same, and so is the goal. I want to be number 1 at the end of 2002. If I can put together a win here in Shanghai, one little win, I'll be the oldest year-end number 1 in men's tennis history, breaking Connor's record. He's a punk. You're a legend. I want this, I tell myself. I don't need it, but I do want it. I order coffee from room service, then sit at the desk and write in my journal. It's not like me to keep a journal, but I've recently begun one, and it's quickly become a habit. I'm compelled to write. I'm obsessed with leaving a record, in part because I've developed a gnawing fear that I won't be around long enough for Jaden to know me. I live on airplanes, and with the world becoming more dangerous, more unpredictable, I fear that I won't be able to tell Jaden all that I've seen and learned. So every night, wherever I am, I jot a few lines to him. Random thoughts, impressions, lessons learned. Now, before going to the Shanghai Stadium, I write, "Hey, buddy, you're in Vegas with Mom and I'm in Shanghai, missing you. I have a chance at finishing number 1 in this tournament, but I promise I can only think about getting home to you. I put a lot of pressure on myself with my tennis, but I'm strangely driven to continue. It took me a while to figure that out. I fought for it for so long. Now I just work as hard as I can and let the rest fall where it may. It still doesn't feel great most of the time, but I push through it for the sake of so much good. Good for the game, good for your future, good for many at my school. Always value others, Jaden. There's so much peace in taking care of people. I love you, and I am there for you always." I close the journal, walk out of the room, and get clipped by Jiri Novak from the Czech Republic. Humiliating. Worse, I can't leave the country and go home. I have to hang around an extra day to play a kind of consolation match. Back at the hotel, choked with emotion, I write again to Jaden. I just lost my match and I feel terrible. I don't want to go back out there tomorrow. So much so, I was actually wishing for an injury. Picture that, not wanting to do something so much that you wish upon yourself injury. Jaden, if you ever feel overwhelmed with something like I was tonight, just keep your head down and keep working and keep trying. Face it at its worst and realize it's not so bad. That will be your chance for peace. I wanted to quit and leave and go home and see you. It's hard to stay and play. It's easy to go home and be with you. That's why I'm staying. At the end of the year, as expected, Hewitt is number 1. I tell Gil we need to take it up a notch. He outlines a new regimen for the older me. He pulls ideas from his Da Vinci notebooks, and we spend weeks working solely on my deteriorating lower body. Day in, day out, he stands over me as I build my legs, yelling, "Big Thunder! Australia's calling!" Weak legs command, Gil says. Strong legs obey. By the time we board the Ambient Express, Vegas to Melbourne, I feel as if I could run or swim there. I'm the second seed in the 2003 Australian Open, and I come out growling, ferocious. I reach the semis and beat Ferreira in 90 minutes. In 6 matches, I've dropped only 1 set. In the final, I face Rainer Schrudler from Germany. I win 3 straight sets, losing only 5 games, and tying the most lopsided victory ever at the Australian Open. My 8th slam, and it's my best performance ever. I tease Stephanie that it's like one of her matches, the closest I'll ever come to experiencing her kind of dominance. As they hand me the trophy, I tell the crowd, there's not a single day that's guaranteed to us, and certainly days like this are very rare. Someone says later that I sound as if I had a near-death experience. More like a near-life experience. It's how a person talks when he almost didn't live. I'm the oldest player in 31 years to win a slam, and reporters won't let me hear the end of it. Again and again, before I leave Australia, reporters ask if I have a plan for retirement. I tell them I don't plan ending any more than I plan beginnings. I'm the last of a generation, they say. Last of the 1980s Mohicans. Chang announces he's retiring. Courier is already 3 years into his retirement. People treat me like a codger because Stephanie is expecting again, and it's well known that we tool around Vegas in a minivan. Still, I feel eternal. Ironically, my lack of flexibility seems to be stretching out my career. It helps my durability. Since I can't turn well, I always keep the racket close to my body, always keep the ball out in front of me. Thus, I don't put unnecessary stress and torque on my frame. With such form, Gil says, my body might have another 3 years in it. After a short breather in Vegas, we fly to Key Biscayne. I've won this tournament 2 years in a row, 5 times overall, and nothing can stop me. I reached the final and beat Moya, my old adversary from the French Open, who's ranked number 5. Straight sets, my 6th win here, which tops Stephanie's record. Again, I'll tease her about finally doing something better than she did it. She's so competitive, however, I know not to tease her too much. Playing in the U.S. Men's Clay Court Championships in Houston, I just need to reach the finals and I'll be ranked number 1 again. And I do. I beat Jürgen Meltzer 6-4, 6-1, and go out with Darren and Gil to celebrate. I throw down several vodka cranberries. I don't care that I'm playing in the final against Roddick tomorrow. I'm already ranked number 1, which is why I beat him. That perfect blend of caring and not caring, the best preparation. Days before my 33rd birthday, I'm the oldest player ever ranked number 1. I fly to Rome feeling like Ponce de Leon and get off the plane feeling a geriatric twinge in my shoulder. In the first round, I play poorly, but don't dwell on it. Put it out of my mind. Weeks later, at the 2003 French Open, my shoulder is still sore, but my practices are crisp. Darren says I'm a force. In the second round, I'm on Suzanne Langland Court, a court filled with bad memories. Losing to Woodruff in 1996, losing to Safin in 1998. I'm playing a kid from Croatia, Mario Ancic. I lose the first 2 sets and trail in the third. He's 19 years old, 6'5", a servant volleyer with no fear of me. The Lingland court is supposed to be denser, slower, but today the ball is moving fast. I'm having an unusually hard time controlling it. I gather myself, however, and win the next 2 sets. In the 5th, exhausted, my shoulder falling off, I have match point 4 times and lose them all. I double fault 3 of them. I beat the kid at last, but only because he's slightly more afraid of losing than I am. I'm in the quarters against Guillermo Correa from Argentina, another youngster. He says publicly I'm his idol. Listen, I tell reporters, I'd rather not be his idol and play him on hard court than be his idol and play him on clay. How I hate this dirt. I lose 4 of the first 5 games. Then I win the set. How I love this dirt. Correa shows no emotion, however. In the second set, he jumps out to a 5-1 lead. He misses nothing. He's fast and getting faster. Was I ever that fast? I try to confuse him, rush the net, to no avail. He's just better than me today. He knocks me out of the tournament and out of the number 1 slot. In England, at a warm-up tournament before Wimbledon, I beat Peter Lujak from Australia. It's the 1,000th match of my career. When someone tells me this, I feel an overpowering need to sit down. I have a glass of wine with Stephanie and try to run my mind all over 1,000 matches. I remember every one of them, I tell her. Of course, she says. For Stephanie's birthday, I take her to see Annie Lennox in London. She's one of Stephanie's favorites, but tonight she's my muse. Tonight she's singing, speaking directly to me. In fact, I make a point to tell Gil that we'll need to include some Lennox on Belly Cramps too. I might listen to her before every match. This is the path I'll never tread. These are the dreams I'll dream instead. I'm one of the favorites at the 2003 Wimbledon. How? No father has won Wimbledon since the 1980s. Fathers don't win slams. In the 3rd round, I play Giannis El Anoui from Morocco. He's a new father, too. I joke with reporters that I look forward to playing a man who gets as little sleep as I. In his pre-match instructions, Darren says, when you get this guy bled out on the backhand early in the match, when you see him hit his slice, be sure to take it out of the air. That way you'll put him on notice that he can't get away with safe shots from a defensive position. He needs to hit something special. That's how you'll send him a message early and force him into errors later in the match. Good advice. I quickly grab a lead, 2-1, but El Ainoy won't cave. He pours it on in the 4th, gets 3 set points. I don't want this thing going 5. I refuse to let it go 5. The final points of the 4th set are grueling, and I do everything required, everything Darren advised. When it's over, when I've won the set and match, I'm wiped out. I have a day off, but I know it's not nearly enough. In the 4th round, I face Mark Philippoussis, an Australian kid with tons of talent and a reputation for squandering it. His serve is big, infamously big, and never bigger than today. He's topping out at 140 miles an hour. He aces me 46 times. Still, the match goes where we both know it's going, a 5th set. At 3-4, he's serving, and somehow I have break point. He misses the first serve. I taste the victory. He unloads a 138-mile-per-hour second serve straight up the middle. Obscene speed, but that's right where I thought he'd hit it. I put the racket out, reflex the ball back to him, and he can only stand and watch. He almost gets whiplash, and yet it lands a half-inch behind the baseline. Out. Had it fallen in, I'd have had the break, the momentum, and I'd be serving for the match, but it's not to be. Now, believing he can win, Philippoussis stands a little taller and breaks me. It's all gone in a blink. 1 minute, I'm almost serving for the match. The next minute, he's raising his arms in conquest. Tennis. In the locker room, my body feels different. Grass has become an ordeal, and a 5-setter on grass leaves me physically shattered. Also, the courts at Wimbledon are playing truer this year, which has meant longer rallies, more movement, more lunging and bending. My back is suddenly an issue. It's never been good, but now it's actively, troublingly bad. Pain runs from my back, down my butt, circumvents my knee, then reconnects with my shin and shoots down to my ankle. I'm grateful that I haven't beaten Philippoussis, that I haven't advanced in the tournament, because I'd have to forfeit the next match. As the 2003 U.S. Open gets underway, Pete announces his retirement. He stops several times during his news conference to collect himself. I find myself deeply affected as well. Our rivalry has been one of the lodestars of my career. Losing to Pete has caused me enormous pain, but in the long run, it's also made me more resilient. If I'd beaten Pete more often, or if he'd come along in a different generation, I'd have a better record, and I might go down as a better player, but I'd be less. For hours after Pete's news conference, I feel a sharp loneliness. I'm the last one standing. I'm the last American Slam winner still playing. I tell reporters, you sort of expect to leave the dance with the ones you came with. Then I realize this is the wrong analogy because I'm not leaving the dance. They are. I'm still dancing. I reach the quarters. I face Korea, who knocked me out in the French Open. I'm itching to lace them up, get out there, but we're delayed for days by rain. Holed up in the hotel, there's nothing to do but wait and read. I watch raindrops slide down the window, each one as gray as the hairs of my stubble. Each raindrop seems like a minute forever melting away. Gil forces me to drink Gil water and rest. He says it's going to be good, but he knows. Time is running out. Finally, the clouds part, and we're on the court, and Korea isn't the same guy I saw in Paris. He has a leg injury, which I exploit. I run him, merciless, grind him down to dust, and win the first 2 sets. In the third set, I have 4 match points and lose them all. I look to the box and see Gil squirming. In my entire career, he's never once taken a bathroom break during one of my matches. Never. Not once. He says he doesn't want to take the chance that I'll look up to my box and not see him there and panic. He deserves better than this. I refocus. I click the lens left, then right, and serve out the match. There is no time to rest. All the rain has shrunk the tournament schedule. I have to play the semifinal the next day against Ferrero, who just won the French Open. He has so much confidence, it's shooting from his pores. He's 100 years younger than I am, and it shows. He puts me away in 4 sets. I bow to all 4 corners, blow kisses to the crowd, and I think they know I've given them everything. I see Jaden and Stephanie waiting outside the locker room. Stephanie, 8 months pregnant with our second child, and the disappointment of the loss slides away like a raindrop. Our daughter is born October 3rd, 2003, another beautiful intruder. We name her Jazz L, and as we did with our son, we secretly vow she won't play tennis. We don't even have a tennis court in our backyard. But there is something else that Jazz Agassi won't do: sleep. She makes her brother seem like a narcoleptic. Thus, I leave for the 2004 Australian Open looking like a vampire. Every other player, meanwhile, looks as if he's had 12 hours of sack time. They're all bright-eyed and muscular. They seem bulkier than in years past, as if they all have their own gills. My legs stay fresh until the semis, when I run into Safin, who plays like a dingo. He missed most of last year with a wrist injury. Now, fully healed and rested, he's unstoppable. Side to side, back and forth, our rallies take forever. Each of us refuses to miss, to make an unforced error. And after 4 hours, neither of us wants to win any less. In fact, we each wanted a little more. The difference is Safin's serve. He takes the 5th set, and I wonder if I've just had my last hurrah in Australia. Is this the end? I've heard this question every other day for months, years, but this is the first time I'm the one asking. Rest is your friend, Gil says. You need more rest between tournaments, and you need to choose your battles ever more carefully. Rome and Hamburg? Pass. Davis Cup? Sorry, can't do it. You need to save up your sap for the big ones, and the next big one is the French Open. As a result, when we arrive in Paris, I feel years younger. Darren looks over my draw and projects a clear path to the semis. In the first round, I play Jérôme Hanel, a 23-year-old from Alsace, ranked number 271, who doesn't even have a coach. No problem, Darren says. Big problem. I come out flat. Every backhand finds the net. I scream at myself. You're better than this. It's not over yet. Don't let it end like this. Gil, sitting in the front row, purses his lips. It's not just age, and it's not just the clay. I'm not hitting the ball cleanly. I'm rested, but rusty from the time off. Newspapers call it the worst loss of my career. Hanel tells reporters that his friends pumped him up before the match by assuring him that he was going to win because I'd recently lost to a player just like him. Asked what he meant by a player just like him, he says, bad. We're down the home stretch, Gil tells reporters. All I can ask is that we don't limp across the finish line. Come June, I pull out of Wimbledon. I've lost 4 straight matches, my worst losing streak since 1997, and my bones feel like china. Gil sits me down and says he doesn't know how much longer he can watch me go on like this. I need to think long and hard, for both our sakes, about the end. I tell him I'll think about my retirement, but first I need to think about Stephanie's. She's been voted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, of course. She has more slams than anyone in the history of tennis besides Margaret Court. She wants me to introduce her at the introduction ceremony. We fly to Newport, Rhode Island, a big day. The first time I've ever left the children with someone else overnight, and the first time I've ever seen Stephanie truly, rigidly nervous. She dreads the ceremony. She doesn't want the attention. She worries that she'll say the wrong thing or forget to thank someone. She's shaking. I'm not all that loose myself. I've obsessed for weeks about my speech. It's the first time I've ever spoken in public about Stephanie, and it's like writing something on the kitchen appreciation board for the world to read. JP helps me work through the various drafts. I'm over-prepared, and as I walk to the day, I'm breathing hard. Then, the moment I start speaking, I relax because the subject is my favorite, and I consider myself an expert. Every man should have the chance to introduce his wife at her Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I look out over the crowd, the fans, the faces of former champions, and I want to tell them about Stephanie. I want them to know what I know. I compare her to the artisans and craftsmen who built the great medieval cathedrals. They didn't curtail their perfectionism when building the roof or the cellar or other unseen parts of the cathedrals. They were perfectionists about every crevice and invisible corner. And that's Stephanie. And yet also she's a cathedral, a monument to perfection. I spend 5 minutes extolling her work ethic, her dignity, her legacy, her strength, her grace. In closing, I utter the truest thing I've ever said about her. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to the greatest person I have ever known. Chapter 28. Everyone around me talks incessantly of retirement. Stephanie's retirement, Pete's retirement, mine. Meanwhile, I do nothing but play and keep my eye on the next slam. In Cincinnati, to everyone's surprise, I beat Roddick in the semis, which propels me to my first ATP final since last November. Then I beat Hewitt, making me the oldest winner of an ATP event since Connors. The next month, at the 2004 U.S. Open, I tell reporters that I think I have a shot at winning this whole thing. They smile as if I'm demented. Stephanie and I rent a house outside the city in Westchester. It's roomier than a hotel, and we don't have to worry about pushing the stroller across busy Manhattan streets. Best of all, the house has a basement playroom, which is my bedroom the night before a match. In the basement, I can move from the bed to the floor when my back wakes me without disturbing Stephanie. Since fathers don't win slams, Stephanie likes to say, you can go to the basement and feel as single as you need to feel. I see my life wearing on her. I'm a distracted husband, a tired father. She needs to carry more of the load with the children. Still, she never complains. She understands. Her mission, her passion every day is to create an atmosphere in which I can think solely about tennis. She remembers how vital that was when she played. For instance, driving to the stadium, Stephanie knows exactly which Elmo songs on the car stereo will keep Jaden and Jazz quiet so Darren and I can talk strategy. Also, she's like Gil about food. She never forgets that when you eat is as important as what you eat. After a match, driving home with Darren and Gil, I know that as we walk through the door, there will be hot lasagna piled on a plate, the cheese still bubbling. I also know Darren's kids and Jaden and Jazz will be fed and clean and tucked away for the night. Because of Stephanie, I make it to the quarters where I face the number 1 seed, Federer. He's not the man I beat in Key Biscayne. He's growing before my eyes into one of the game's all-time greats. He methodically builds a lead, 2-1, and I can't help but stand back and admire his immense skills, his magnificent composure. He's the most regal player I've ever witnessed. Before he can finish me off, however, play is halted due to rain. Driving back to Westchester, I stare out the window and tell myself, don't think about tomorrow. Also, don't even think about dinner, because the match was cut short and I'm coming home hours earlier than expected. But of course, Stephanie has a source with the weather service. Someone gave her a heads up about the storm as it was swooping down from Albany, and she jumped into the car and rushed home and got everything ready. Now, as we walk through the door, she kisses us all and hands us plates in a single motion, fluid as her serve. I want to invite a judge to the house and renew our vows. The next day, howling winds come, gusts of 40 miles an hour. I fight through the winds and through Federer's hurricane-force skills and tie the match at 2 sets apiece. Federer glances at his feet, which is how he registers shock. Then he adjusts better than I do. I have a sense he can adjust to anything on the fly. He pulls out a tough 5th set, and I tell everyone who'll listen that he's on his way to becoming the best ever. Before the winds settle down, retirement talk swirls again. Reporters want to know why I keep going. I explain that this is what I do for a living. I have a family and a school to support. Many people benefit from every tennis ball I hit. 1 month after the U.S. Open, Stephanie and I host the 9th annual Grand Slam for Children, which collects $6 million. All told, we've raised $40 million from my foundation. Also, I tell reporters, I have game left. I don't know how much, but some. I still think I can win. Again, they stare. Maybe they're confused because I don't tell them the full story, don't explain my full motivation. I can't, since I'm only slowly becoming aware of it myself. I play and keep playing because I choose to play. Even if it's not your ideal life, you can always choose it. No matter what your life is, choosing it changes everything. At the 2005 Australian Open, I beat Taylor Dent in 3 sets, advancing to the 4th round, and outside the locker room, I stopped for a very engaging TV commentator, Courier. It's odd to see him in this new role. I can't stop seeing him as a great champion, and yet TV suits him. He does it well and seems happy. I feel a good deal of respect for him, and I hope he feels some for me. Our differences feel long ago and juvenile. He puts the microphone in front of my mouth and asks, "How long before Jaden Agassi plays Pete's son?" I look into the camera and say, "My biggest hope for my child is that he's focused on something." Then I add, "Hopefully he'll choose tennis because I love it so much." The old lie. But now it's even more shameful because I've attached it to my son. The lie threatens to become my legacy. Stephanie and I are more resolved than ever that we don't want this crazy life for Jaden or Jazz, so what made me say it? As always, I suppose it was what I knew people wanted to hear. Also, flushed from a win, I felt that tennis is a beautiful sport, which has treated me well, and I wanted to honor it. And maybe, standing before a champion I respected, I felt guilty for hating it. The lie may have been my way of hiding my guilt or atoning for it. In the last few months, Gil has given me a few hard twists to my training. He's had me eating like a Spartan warrior, and the new diet has honed me to a fine edge. Also, I've had a cortisone shot, my third in the last year. 4 is the maximum annual number recommended. There are risks, the doctors say. We simply don't know cortisone's long-term consequences for the spine and liver, but I don't care, so long as my back behaves. And it does. I reach the quarters, where again I face Federer. I can't win a set. He dismisses me like a teacher with a dense pupil. He, more than any of the young guns taking control of the game, makes me feel my age. When I look at him, with his suave agility, his shot-making prowess, and puma-like smoothness, I remember that I've been around since the days of wooden rackets. My brother-in-law, after all, was Pancho Gonzalez, a champion during the Berlin Airlift, a rival of Fred Perry, and Federer was born the year I met my friend Perry. I turned 35 just before Rome. Stephanie and the children come with me to Italy. I want to get out with Stephanie, see the Colosseum, the Pantheon, but I can't. When I came here as a boy and as a young man, I was too consumed by inner torments and shyness to leave the hotel. Now, though I'd love to see the sights, my back won't permit it. The doctor says one more long walk on pavement can mean the difference between the cortisone lasting 3 months or 1. I win my first 4 matches. Then I lose to Korea. Disgusted with myself, I feel guilty about getting a standing ovation. Again, reporters press the question of retirement. I say I only think about it 14 times a year because that's how many tournaments I play each year. In other words, that's how many times I'm forced to sit through these news conferences. In the first round of the 2005 French Open, I play Jarkko Nieminen from Finland. Simply by stepping on the court, I set a record. My 58th slam, one more than Chang, Connors, Lindell, Ferreira, more than anyone in the Open era. My back, however, is in no mood to commemorate the occasion. The cortisone has worn off. Serving is painful. Standing is painful. Breathing is work. I think about walking to the net and forfeiting. But this is Roland Garros. I can't walk off this court. Not this one. They'll have to carry me off this court atop my racket. I swallow 8 Advils. 8. During the changeover, I cover my face with a towel while biting on another towel to quell the pain. In the third set, Gil knows something is terribly wrong. After hitting the ball, I don't sprint back to the center of the court. In all these years, he's never seen me fail to sprint back to the center of the court. It's unthinkable, tantamount to him taking a men's room break during one of my matches. Afterward, walking with Gil to a restaurant, I'm bent over like a giant shrimp. He says, "We can't keep taking and taking from your body." We pull out of Wimbledon, try to get ready for the summer hard courts. It's necessary, but feels like a gamble. Now I'll devote all my time and do all my work for fewer tournaments, which means the margin of error will be narrower, the pressure greater, the losses will hurt more. Gil buries himself in his Da Vinci notebooks. He's proud that I've never injured myself in his gym, and now I can see that, as my body ages, he's tense. His streak is on the line. Some lifts you just can't do anymore, he says. Others you'll need to do twice as much. We spend hours and hours in the weight room discussing my core. From here until the finish line, Gil says, it's all about your core. Because I've pulled out of Wimbledon, newspapers and magazines print a fresh batch of eulogies. At an age when most tennis players... I swear off newspapers and magazines. In late summer, I play the Mercedes-Benz Cup and I win. Jaden is now old enough to watch me play, and during the trophy ceremony, he comes running onto the court, thinking the trophy is his, which it is. I go to Montreal and scratch and claw my way to the final against a Spanish kid everyone is talking about, Rafael Nadal. I can't beat him. I can't fathom him. I've never seen anyone move like that on a tennis court. In the 2005 U.S. Open, I'm a novelty, a sideshow, a 35-year-old playing in a slam. It's my 20th year in a row at this tournament. Many of this year's players haven't been alive 20 years. I remember playing Connors and knocking him out of his 20th U.S. Open. I'm not the type to ask, where did the years go? I know exactly where they went. I can feel every set in my spine. I played Razvan Sabal from Romania in the first round. I've had my fourth and final cortisone shot of the year, so my back feels numb. I'm able to hit my meat and potato shot, which gives Sabal problems. When your basic shot hurts someone, when they're falling behind on the shot you can make 100 out of 100 times, you know the day is going to be fine. It's as though your job is leaving marks on a guy's jaw, and you still haven't thrown your haymaker. I beat him in 69 minutes. Reporters say it was a massacre. They ask if I feel bad about beating him. I say I would never want to deprive anybody of the learning experience of losing. They laugh. I'm serious. In the second round, I play Ivo Karlovic from Croatia. They list him as 6'10", but he must have been standing in a ditch when they measured. He's a totem pole, a telephone pole, which gives his serve a sick trajectory. When Karlovic serves, the box technically becomes twice as large. The net becomes a foot lower. I've never played anyone so big. I don't know how to prepare for an opponent his size. In the locker room, I introduce myself to Karlovic. He's sweet, fresh-faced, starry-eyed about being in the U.S. Open. I ask him to raise his serving arm as high as he can. Then I call Darren over. We crane our necks, looking up, trying to see the tips of Karlovic's fingers. We can't. Now, I say to Darren, try to imagine a racket in that arm. And now imagine him jumping. And now, imagine where the face of the racket would be, and imagine the ball zinging off the racket. It's like he's serving from the freaking blimp. Darren laughs. Karlovic laughs. He says, I would trade you my reach for your return game. Fortunately, I know Karlovic's height will also be a liability for him at times in the match. Low balls will be problematic. Lunging won't be easy. Also, Darren says Karlovic's movement is dodgy. I remind myself not to spend energy worrying about how many times he aces me. Just wait for the 1 or 2 times he misses a first serve, then pounce on that second. Those will decide the match. And though Karlovic knows this also, I need to make him know it more. I need to make him feel it by applying pressure on the second serve, which means never missing. I beat him in straight sets. In the third round, I play Thomas Berdych, a tennis player's player. I faced him before, nearly 2 years ago, in the second round of the Australian Open. Darren warned me, you're about to play an 18-year-old kid who has a real game, and you better be on it. He can rip the ball up both sides, he has a bomb of a serve, and in a few years, he's going to be top 10. Darren wasn't overselling it. Berdych was one of the best tennis players I'd faced all year. I beat him in Australia 6-0, 6-2, 6-4, and felt fortunate. I thought, good thing this is only best of 5. Now, surprisingly, Berdych hasn't improved much since then. His decision-making still needs work. He's like me before I met Brad, thinks he needs to win every point. He doesn't know the value of letting the other guy lose. When I beat him, when I shake his hand, I want to tell him to relax. It takes some people longer than others to learn. But I can't. It's not my place. Next I play Xavier Malisse from Belgium. He moves admirably well and has a slingshot of an arm. He features a meaty forehand and an acing serve, but he's not consistent. Also, his backhand is mediocre. It looks as if it should be great because he's so comfortable hitting it, but he's more interested in the way it looks than actually executing it. He simply cannot hit a backhand up the line, and if you can't do that, you can't beat me. I control the court too well. If you can't hit a backhand up the line, I'll dictate every point. An opponent has to move me, stretch me off the mark, put me in a position where I'm dealing with him, or else he'll have to play on my terms, and my terms are harsh, especially as I get older. The night before the match, I have a drink with Courier at the hotel. He warns me that Malisse is playing well. Maybe, I say, but I'm actually looking forward to it. You won't hear me saying this often, but this is going to be fun. The match is fun, like a puppet show. I feel as if I'm holding a string, and each time I pull it, Malisse jumps. I'm astonished, yet again, by the connection between two players on a tennis court. The net, which supposedly separates you, actually links you like a web. After 2 bruising hours, you're convinced that you've locked in a cage with your opponent. You could swear that his sweat is spraying you, his breath is fogging your eyes. I'm up 2-0, dominating. Malisse has no faith in himself. He doesn't believe he belongs out there. But as the third set starts, Malisse finally gets tired of being pulled from side to side. Such is life. He gets mad, plays with passion, and soon he's doing things that surprise even himself. He's hitting that backhand up the line, crisply, consistently. I glare at him with an expression that says, "I'll believe that if you keep doing it." He keeps doing it. I see relief in his face and body language. He still doesn't think he's going to win, but he does think he's going to make a good show, and that's enough. He takes the third set in a tie break. Now I'm livid. I have better things to do than stand out here with you for another hour. Just for that, I'm going to make you cramp. But Malisse isn't taking orders from me anymore. One little set, has completely changed his demeanor, restored his confidence. He's no longer afraid. He only wanted to make a good show, and he has, so now he's playing with house money. In the 4th set, our roles reverse, and he dictates the pace. He wins the set and ties the match. In the 5th set, however, he's spent, whereas I'm just beginning to draw on funds long deposited in the bank of Gil. It isn't close. Coming to the net, he smiles, accords me tremendous respect. I'm old, and he's made me older, but he knows that I've made him work, that I've forced him to dig deep and learn about himself. In the locker room, Courier finds me, punches my shoulder. He says, "You called your shot. You told me you were going to have fun. You looked like you were having fun." Fun. If I had fun, why do I feel as if I got hit by a truck? I'm ready for a month in a hot tub, but my next match looms, and my opponent is playing like a man possessed, Blake. He smoked me the last time we met in D.C. by getting and staying aggressive. Everyone says he's grown steadily better since that day. My only hope is that he doesn't play aggressive this time out, especially since it's cooler. In cool weather, the court in New York plays slower, which favors a guy like Blake, who's so damn fast. On a slow court, Blake can get to everything, and you can't, and thus he can make you press. You feel a need to do more than you normally do, and from there, everything goes haywire. The moment we step onto the court, my worst nightmare comes true. Blake is Mr. Aggressive, standing inside the baseline on my second serves, taking full cuts off both wings, making me feel urgency right from the opening minute. He smothers me in the first set, 6-3. In the second set, he gives me a second helping of the same, 6-3. Early in the third set, the match takes on shades of Malisse, except I'm Malisse. I can't beat this guy, I know I can't, so I may as well just try to give a good show. Freed from the thoughts of winning, I instantly play better. I stop thinking, start feeling. My shots become a half second quicker. My decisions become the product of instinct rather than logic. I see Blake take a step back and register the change. What has happened? He's been beating my brains in for 7 straight rounds, and at the end of the 8th, I land one sneaky punch, wobbling him just as the bell rings. Now he's walking to his corner, unable to believe that his hobbled, demoralized opponent still has life. Blake has a huge following in New York, and they're all here tonight. Nike, which no longer endorses me, gives his supporters T-shirts and urges them to cheer. When I outplay Blake in the 3rd, they stop cheering. When I win the set, they fall silent. Throughout the 4th set, Blake's panicking, no longer being aggressive. I can see him thinking, can almost hear him thinking, damn, I can't do anything right. I win the 4th set. Now that Blake has seen the benefits of my not thinking, he decides he's going to try it. As the 5th set unfolds, he turns off his brain. At last, after nearly 3 hours, we meet on equal terms. We're both on fire, and his on fire is slightly better than my on fire. In the 10th game, he has a chance to serve out the match. Then he starts thinking again. The contrarian brain. He presses, I hit 3 first-class returns, break him, and the crowd changes its mind. They chant, Andre, Andre. I serve, I hold. During the changeover, the stadium sounds like a rock concert. My ears are ringing. My temples are pounding. It's so loud that I wrap my head in a towel. He serves, he holds. We're going to a tie break. I've heard old-timers say that the 5th set has nothing to do with tennis. It's true. The 5th set is about emotion and conditioning. Slowly, I leave my body. Nice knowing you, body. I've had several out-of-body experiences over my career, but this one is healthy. I trust my skill, and I step out of its way. I remove myself from the equation. At match point 6-5, I hit a solid serve. He returns to my forehand. I hit a quality ball to his backhand. He's moving around it, and I know, mistake. If he's running around my quality ball, that means he's pressing. He's not thinking clearly. He's putting himself out of position, letting the ball play him. He's not giving himself an opportunity to hit the best possible shot. Thus, I know that one of 2 things is about to happen. He's going to be handcuffed by my ball and hit it weakly, or he's going to be forced into an error. Either way, I have a pretty good idea the ball is coming right here. I look at the spot where it's sure to land. Blake wheels, throws his lower torso out of the way, and cold cocks the ball. It lands 10 feet from where I expected. Winner. I was completely wrong. I do the only thing I can do. Walk back. Prepare for the next point. At 6-all, we have a murderous rally, backhand to backhand, and I'm a big loose bag of rattling nerves. In a 10-stroke backhand rally, you know somebody's going to raise the stakes at any moment, and you're always sure it's going to be your opponent. I wait and wait, but with each stroke, Blake doesn't raise the stakes, so it falls to me. I step in as if I'm going to cane the ball, and instead I hit a backhand drop shot. I'm all in. There are times in a match when you want to put just a solid, serviceable swing on the ball, but your blood is so full of adrenaline that you hit it big. This happens often to Blake, not with his swing, but his speed. He runs faster than he means to run. He feels so much urgency that he sprints to a ball and gets there sooner than he anticipated. This is what happens now. Sprinting all out for my backhand drop, he has the racket gripped in such a way that he's going to have to dig, but instead he gets there so fast he doesn't need to dig, meaning the ball is on him and he has the wrong grip. Instead of crushing the ball as he should, he's forced by his grip to punch the ball. Then he holds ground at the net, and I lace a backhand up the line. It passes him by a fair margin. Now he's serving at 6-7. I have match point again. He misses the first serve. I have a nanosecond to decide where he's coming with his second serve. Aggressive? Safe? I decide he's going to err on the side of safety. He's going to roll it to my backhand. So how aggressive do I want to be? Where do I want to station myself? Should I make an irrevocable decision, stand where I can kill the ball if I'm correct, but where I won't be able to reach it if I'm wrong? Or should I split the difference, stand in the middle ground where I'll be able to hit a moderately good shot on most serves and a perfect shot on none? If there is to be a final decision in this match, one final decision on this night of 100,000 decisions, I want that final decision to be mine. I irrevocably commit. He serves as expected to my backhand. It hangs just where I thought it would hang, like a soap bubble. I feel all the hairs on my body rise. I feel the crowd rise. I tell myself, quality cut, rip it, rip it, rip it, you fuck. As the ball leaves my racket, I track every inch of its flight. I see the shadow of the ball converging with the ball itself. As they slowly become one, I'm saying aloud, ball, please, please find a hole. It does. When Blake hugs me at the net, we know we've done something special. But I know it better because I've played 800 more matches than he has, and this match stands apart from the others. I've never been more intellectually aware, never felt the need to be more intellectually aware, and I take a certain intellectual pride in the finished product. I want to sign it. After they cut the tape off my feet, after the news conference, Gil and Perry and Darren and Philly and I go to P.J. Clark's for food and drinks. By the time I get back to the hotel, it's 4 a.m. Stephanie is asleep. As I come in, she sits up in bed and smiles. "You're crazy," she says. I laugh. "That was unbelievable," she says. "You went places out there." I did, baby. I went places. I lie on the floor next to the bed, try to fall asleep, but I can't stop replaying the match. I hear her voice in the darkness, somewhere above me, like an angel. "How do you feel?" It was a pretty cool way to spend an evening. In the semis, I'm due to play Robbie Ginepri, a touted kid from Georgia. CBS wants mine to be the late match. I go to the tournament director on my knees. I tell him, if I'm lucky enough to get through this match, I'll have to come back tomorrow. Please don't make a 35-year-old man get home later than his 22-year-old opponent in the final. He reschedules my match, makes it the early semi. After 2 5-setters in a row, no one gives me a chance against Ginepri. He's fast, solid off both sides, playing the best tennis of his life, and young. And even before dealing with Ginepri, I know the first thing I'll have to do is chisel through a wall of my own fatigue. The last 3 sets against Blake are the best tennis I've ever played, and the most draining. I tell myself to come out against Ginepri and manufacture the adrenaline. Pretend I'm down 2 sets. Try to relocate that mindless state I found against Blake. It works. Feigning urgency, I win the first set. Now my goal is to conserve energy for tomorrow's final. I begin to play safe tennis, thinking about my next opponent, and of course that lets Ginepri swing freely, take chances. He wins the second set. I banish from my mind all thought of the final. I give Ginepri my full attention. He's gassed after expending so much energy to tie the match, and I win the third. But he wins the fourth. I need to start the 5th set with fury. I also need to acknowledge that I can't win every point. I can't run after everything, can't lunge for each dink and drop. I can't go full speed against a kid who's still teething. He wants to be out here all night, but I have 45 minutes of energy left, 45 minutes of a functioning body, or maybe just 35. I win the set. It's not possible, but I'm in the final of the U.S. Open at 35 years old. Darren, Gil, and Stephanie scoop me off the locker room floor and go into a triage mode. Darren grabs my rackets and runs them to Roman, the stringer. Gil hands me my Gil water. Stephanie helps me to the car. We race back to the Four Seasons to watch Federer and Hewitt fight for the privilege of playing the old cripple from Vegas. It's the most relaxed you can be before a final, watching the other semi. You tell yourself, whatever I'm feeling at this moment, it's better than what those guys are feeling. Then Federer wins, of course. I lean back on the couch, and he's all I'm thinking about, and I know somewhere out there I'm all he's thinking about. Between now and tomorrow afternoon, I need to do everything a little better than he does it, including sleep. But I have children. I used to sleep until 11:30 in the morning on a day of a match. Now I can't sleep later than 7:30. Stephanie keeps the children quiet, but something in my body knows they're up. They want to see their father. More, their father wants to see them. After breakfast, I kiss them goodbye. Driving to the stadium with Gil, I'm quiet. I know I have no chance. I'm ancient. I've played 3 5-setters in a row. Let's be real. My only hope is if it goes 3 or 4 sets. If it's a fast match where conditioning doesn't come into play, I might get lucky. Federer comes onto the court looking like Cary Grant. I almost wonder if he's going to play in an ascot and a smoking jacket. He's permanently smooth. I'm constantly rattled, even when serving at 40-15. He's also dangerous from so many different parts of the court. There's nowhere to hide. I don't do well when there's nowhere to hide. Federer wins the first set. I go into frantic mode, do anything I can to knock him off balance. I get up a break in the second. I break again and win the set. I think to myself, Mr. Grant might just have a problem today. In the third set, I break him and go up 4-2. I'm serving with a breeze at my back, and Federer is shanking the balls. I'm about to go up 5-2, and for a fleeting moment, he and I both think something remarkable is about to happen here. We lock eyes. We share a moment. Then, at 30 love, I hit a kick serve to his backhand. He takes a swing, shanks it. The ball sounds sick as it leaves his racket, like one of my deliberate misfires as a kid. But this sick, ugly misfire somehow wobbles over the net and lands in. Winner. He breaks me, and we're back on serve. In the tiebreak, he goes to a place that I don't recognize. He finds a gear that other players simply don't have. He wins 7-1. Now the shit is rolling downhill, and it doesn't stop. My quads are screaming. My back is closing the store for the night. My decisions become poor. I'm reminded how slight the margin can be on a tennis court, how narrow the space between greatness and mediocrity, fame and anonymity, happiness and despair. We were playing a tight match. We were dead even. Now, due to a tiebreak that made my jaw drop with admiration, the rout is on. Walking to the net, I'm certain that I've lost to the better man, the Everest of the next generation. I pity the young players who will have to contend with him. I feel for the man who is fated to play Agassi to his Sampras. Though I don't mention Pete by name, I have him uppermost in my mind when I tell reporters, it's real simple. Most people have weaknesses. Federer has none. Chapter 29. I pull out of the 2006 Australian Open, then pull out of the entire clay season. I hate to do it, but I need to save myself for the 2006 Wimbledon, which I quietly, privately, decide will be my last. I'm saving myself for Wimbledon. I never thought I'd say such a thing. I never dreamed a proper, respectful goodbye to Wimbledon would feel so important. But Wimbledon has become hallowed ground for me. It's where my wife shined. It's where I first suspected that I could win, and where I proved it to myself and the world. Wimbledon is where I learned to bow, to bend my knee, to do something I didn't want to do, wear what I didn't want to wear, and survive. Also, no matter how I feel about tennis, the game is my home. I hated home as a boy, and then I left, and I soon found myself homesick. In the final hours of my career, I'm continually chastened by that memory. I tell Darren this will be my last Wimbledon, and the coming U.S. Open will be my last tournament ever. We make the announcement just as Wimbledon gets underway. Immediately after, I'm startled by how differently my peers look at me. They no longer treat me as a rival, a threat. I'm retired. I'm irrelevant. A wall is let down. Reporters ask, why now? Why did you choose to retire now? I tell them I didn't. I simply can't play anymore. That's the finish line I've been seeking, the finish line with the inexorable pull. Can't play as opposed to won't play. Unwittingly, I've been seeking that moment where I have no choice. Bud Collins, the venerable tennis commentator and historian, the co-author of Laver's autobiography, sums up my career by saying, "I've gone from punk to paragon." I cringe. To my thinking, Bud sacrificed the truth on the altar of alliteration. I was never a punk any more than I'm now a paragon. Also, several sports writers muse about my transformation, and that word rankles. I think it misses the mark. Transformation is change from one thing to another, but I started as nothing. I didn't transform, I formed. When I broke into tennis, I was like most kids. I didn't know who I was, and I rebelled at being told by older people. I think older people make this mistake all the time with younger people, treating them as finished products when in fact they're in process. It's like judging a match before it's over, and I've come from behind too often and had too many opponents come roaring back against me to think that's a good idea. What people see now, for better or worse, is my first formation, my first incarnation. I didn't alter my image. I discovered it. I didn't change my mind. I opened it. JP helps me work through this idea to explain it to myself. He says people have been fooled by my changing looks, my clothes and hair, into thinking that I know who I am. People see my self-exploration as self-expression. He says that for a man with so many fleeting identities, it's shocking and symbolic that my initials are AKA. Sadly, in the early summer of 2006, despite the best efforts of JP and others, I can't yet explain this to reporters. Even if I could, the press room at the All England Club isn't the place. I can't explain it to Stephanie either, but I don't need to. She knows all. In the days and hours leading up to Wimbledon, she stares into my eyes and pats my cheek. She talks to me about my career. She talks about hers. She tells me about her last Wimbledon. She didn't know it would be her last. She says it's better this way, to know, to go out on my own terms. Wearing a necklace made for me by Jaden, a chain of block letters that spells out, "Daddy Rocks," I face Boris Pashansky from Serbia in the first round. As I step on the court, the applause is loud and long. On the first serve, I can't see the court because my eyes are filled with tears. Despite feeling as if I'm playing in a suit of armor with a back that will not loosen, I persist, endure, I win. In the second round, I beat Andrea Seppi from Italy in straight sets. I'm playing well, which gives me hope going into my third round match against Nadal. He's a brute, a freak, a force of nature, as strong and balletic a player as I've ever seen. But I feel the delusional effects of winning, that I might be able to make inroads. I like my chances. I lose the first set 7-6, but take hope from how close it was. Then he annihilates me. The match takes 70 minutes. My window of opportunity is 55. That's where I start to feel my back. Late in the match, with Nadal serving, I can no longer stand still. I need to move around, stomp my foot, get the blood flowing. The stiffness is so severe, the pain so great, returning is the last thing on my mind. I'm thinking only of remaining vertical. After, in a moment dripping with irony, Wimbledon officials break with tradition to hold an on-court interview with Nadal and me. They never hold on-court interviews. I tell Gil, sooner or later, I knew I'd get Wimbledon to break with tradition. Gil isn't laughing. He never laughs while a fight is still going on. It's almost over, I tell him. I go to Washington, D.C., and play an Italian qualifier named Andrea Steppini. He beats me as if I'm the qualifier, and I feel ashamed. I thought I needed a tune-up for the U.S. Open, but this tune-up has left me shaken. I tell reporters that I'm struggling with the end more than I expected. I tell them that the best way I can explain it is this. Many of you, I'm sure, don't like your jobs, but imagine if someone told you right now that your story about me would be your last. After this, you'll never be able to write another word for as long as you live. How would you feel? Everyone travels to New York. The whole team, Stephanie, the children, my parents, Perry, Gil, Darren, Philly. We invade the Four Seasons and colonize Campanola. The children smile to hear the applause as we walk in. To my ear, the applause sounds different this time. It has a different timbre. It has a subtext. They know this isn't about me. It's about all of us finishing something special together. Frankie seats us at the corner table. He makes a big fuss over Stephanie and the children. I watch him serve Jaden all my favorite foods, and I watch Jaden enjoy them. I watch Jazz enjoy the food too, though she insists that each entree remain separate. They mustn't touch. A variation of the blueberry muffin imperative. I watch Stephanie watching the kids, smiling, and I think of the four of us, 4 distinct personalities, 4 different surfaces, and yet a matching set, complete. On the eve of my final tournament, I enjoy that sense we all seek, that knowledge that we get only a few times in life, that the themes of our life are connected, the seeds of our ending were there in the beginning, and vice versa. In my first round, I play Andrei Pavel from Romania. My back seizes up midway through the match, but despite standing stick straight, I managed to tough out a win. I asked Darren to arrange a cortisone shot for the next day. Even with the shot, I don't know if I'll be able to play my next match. I certainly won't be able to win, not against Marcos Bagdatis. He's ranked number 8 in the world. He's a big, strong kid from Cyprus in the midst of a great year. He's reached the final of the Australian Open and the semis of Wimbledon. And then somehow I beat him. Afterward, I'm barely able to stagger up the tunnel and into the locker room before my back gives out. Darren and Gil lift me like a bag of laundry onto the training table, while Bagdatis' people hoist him onto the table beside me. He's cramping badly. Stephanie appears, kisses me. Gil forces me to drink something. A trainer says the doctors are on the way. He turns on the TV above the table, and everyone clears out, leaving just me and Bagdatis, both of us writhing and groaning in pain. The TV shows highlights from our match, Sports Center. In my peripheral vision, I detect slight movement. I turn to see Bagdatis extending his hand. His face says, "We did that." I reach out, take his hand, and we remain this way, holding hands as the TV flickers with scenes of our savage battle. We relive the match, and then I relive my life. Finally, the doctors arrive. It takes them and the trainers half an hour to get Bagdatis and me on our feet. Bagdatis leaves the locker room first, gingerly, leaning against the couch. Then Gil and Darren lead me out to the parking lot, enticing me forward a few more steps with the thought of a cheeseburger and a martini at P.J. Clark's. It's 2 a.m. "Christ," Darren says as we emerge into the parking lot. "The car is all the way over there, mate." We squint at the lone car in the middle of the empty parking lot. It's several hundred yards away. I tell him I can't make it. "No, of course not," he says. "Wait here and I'll bring it around." He runs off. I tell Gil that I can't stay upright. I need to lie down while we wait. He sets my tennis bag on the cement, and I sit, then lie back, using the bag as a pillow. I look up at Gil. I see nothing but his smile and his shoulders. I look just beyond his shoulders at the stars. So many stars. I look at the light stanchions that rim the stadium. They seem like bigger, closer stars. Suddenly, an explosion, a sound like a giant can of tennis balls being opened. One stanchion goes out, then another, and another. I close my eyes. It's over. No, hell no, it will never really be over. I'm hobbling through the lobby of the Four Seasons the next morning when a man steps out of the shadows. He grabs my arm. "Quit," he says. "What?" It's my father, or a ghost of my father. He looks ashen. He looks as if he hasn't slept in weeks. "Pops? What are you talking about?" "Just quit. Go home. You did it. It's over." He says he prays for me to retire. He says he can't wait for me to be done so he won't have to watch me suffer anymore. He won't have to sit through my matches with his heart in his mouth. He won't have to stay up until 2 a.m. and catch a match from the other side of the world so he can scout some new wonder boy I might soon have to face. He's sick of the whole miserable thing. He sounds as if... Is it possible? Yes, I see it in his eyes. I know that look. He hates tennis. He says, "Don't put yourself through this anymore. After last night, you have nothing left to prove. I can't see you like this. It's too painful." I reach out and touch his shoulder. "I'm sorry, Pops. I can't quit. This can't end without me quitting." 30 minutes before the match, I get an anti-inflammatory injection, but it's different from the cortisone, less effective. Against my third-round opponent, Benjamin Becker, I'm barely able to remain standing. I look at the scoreboard. I shake my head. I ask myself over and over, how is it possible that my final opponent is a guy named B. Becker? I told Darren earlier this year that I wanted to go out against somebody I like and respect, or else somebody I don't know. And so I got the latter. Becker takes me out in 4 sets. I can feel the tape of the finish line snap cleanly across my chest. U.S. Open officials let me say a few words to the fans in the stands and at home before heading into the locker room. I know exactly what I want to say. I've known for years, but it still takes me a few moments to find my voice. The scoreboard said I lost today, but what the scoreboard doesn't say is what it is I have found. Over the last 21 years, I have found loyalty. You have pulled for me on the court and also in life. I have found inspiration. You have willed me to succeed, sometimes even in my lowest moments, and I have found generosity. You have given me your shoulders to stand on, to reach for my dreams I could never have reached without you. Over the last 21 years, I have found you, and I will take you and the memory of you with me for the rest of my life. It's the highest compliment I know how to pay them. I've compared them to Gil. In the locker room, it's deathly quiet. I've noticed through the years that every locker room is the same when you lose. You walk in the door, which slams open because you've pushed it harder than you needed to, and the guys always scatter from the TV, where they've been watching you get your ass kicked. They always pretend they haven't been watching, haven't been discussing you. This time, however, they remain gathered around the TV. No one moves. No one pretends. Then, slowly, everyone comes toward me. They clap and whistle, along with trainers and office workers and James the security guard. Only one man remains apart, refusing to applaud. I see him in the corner of my eye. He's leaning against a far wall with a blank look on his face and his arms tightly folded. Connors. He's now coaching Roddick. Poor Andy. It makes me laugh. I can only admire that Connors is who he is, still, and he never changes. We should all be so true to ourselves, so consistent. I tell the players, you'll hear a lot of applause in your life, fellas, but none will mean more to you than that applause from your peers. I hope each of you hears that at the end. Thank you all. Goodbye, and take care of each other. The beginning. Rain has been falling off and on all day. Stephanie peers at the sky and says, "What do you think?" "Come on," I say. "Let's try. I'm willing if you are." "Willing," she frowns. She's always willing, but she can't speak for her calf, which has been giving her problems since she retired, especially lately. She looks down. Darned calf. She has a charity match in Tokyo next week. She's planning to raise money for a kindergarten she's opened in Itira, and even though it's only an exhibition, she wants to do well. She feels the old pressure to do well. Also, she can't help but wonder how much game she has left. I wonder the same thing about myself. It's been a year since I walked off the court for the last time at the U.S. Open. It's autumn 2007. So we've been planning all week to get out there, hit with each other, but now the day has come, and it's the one rainy day all year in Vegas. We can't build a fire in the rain. Stephanie looks again at the overcast sky, then at the clock. Busy day, she says. She has to pick up Jaden at school. We only have this small window. If the rain doesn't let up, if we don't hit, I might go down to my school, because that's where I go whenever I have time. I can't believe how it's grown. A 26,000 square foot education complex with 500 students and a waiting list of 800. The $40 million campus features everything the kids could want. A high-tech TV production studio, a computer room with dozens of PCs along the walls, and a big white fluffy couch. A top-flight exercise room with machines as fancy as those at the most exclusive clubs in Vegas. There's a weight room, a lecture hall, and bathrooms as modern and clean as the ones in the city's finest hotels. Best of all, the place is still freshly painted and pristine, just as sparkling as if it was on opening day. Students, parents, the neighborhood, everyone respects the school because everyone owns it. The area hasn't completely rebounded since we arrived. When I was giving a tour recently, someone was shot across the street. And yet in 8 years, not one window has been broken, not one wall has been sprayed with graffiti. Everywhere you look are little touches, subtle details that signify this school is different. This place is about excellence, through and through. On the front window is etched one large word, our unofficial school motto: believe. Every classroom is flooded with soft natural daylight, indirect southern, bounced from skylights to high-tech reflectors. It's a diffuse glow that's ideal for reading and concentrating. Teachers never need to flick a light switch, which saves energy and money, but also spares students the headaches and general gloom caused by standard fluorescence, which I remember all too well. Our grounds are designed like a college campus, with intimate quads and welcoming common areas. The walls are stone, muted purple and pale salmon quartzite from local quarries, and the walkways are lined with delicate plum trees, leading to one beautiful holly oak, a symbolic tree of hope, which we planted even before the groundbreaking. First things first, our architects figured, so they planted the tree of hope, then asked construction workers to keep the tree watered and lighted while they built the school around it. The land on which the school sits is narrow, only 8 acres, but the lack of space actually suited the architect's overall scheme. They wanted the flow of the campus to symbolize a short, serpentine journey, like life. Whenever students stand, they can turn one way and see a glimpse of where they've been, or turn the other and see a hint of where they're headed. Kindergartners and elementary schoolers can gaze at the tall, high school buildings waiting for them, though they can't hear the voices of the older kids. We don't want to scare them. High schoolers can glance back at the primary classrooms from which they set out, though they can't hear the high-pitched screaming on the playground. We don't want to disturb them. The architects, local guys named Mike Delgado and Rob Gerdeson, threw themselves into this project. They spent months researching the history of the neighborhood, examining charter schools throughout the nation, experimenting with ideas. Then they stayed up night after night, brainstorming around a ping-pong table in Mike's basement. They built the first cardboard plywood model of the school on that ping-pong table, unaware of any coincidence or irony. It was their idea to have the buildings teach, to tell stories. We told them the stories we wanted told. In the middle school, we wanted enormous photos of Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and of course, Mandela. with their inspirational words painted on raised glass beneath their portraits. Since most of our students are African American, we asked Mike and Rob to embed bricks of marbled glass in one wall, depicting the Big Dipper, and to the right one single brick of glass representing the North Star. The Big Dipper and the North Star were beacons for runaway slaves, pointing them to freedom. My small contribution to the aesthetics of the school, in the common area of the high school building, I wanted a gleaming black Steinway. When I delivered the piano, all the students gathered around and I shocked them by playing Lean on Me. What delighted me most was that the students didn't know who I was, and when their teachers told them, they weren't all that impressed. I dreamed of a school with the fewest possible dry routines, a place that fostered serendipity, a place where serendipity was the norm. And it's happened. On any given day, something cool is likely to happen at Agassi Prep. President Bill Clinton might drop by and take a turn teaching history. Shaquille O'Neal might be the substitute in physical education. You might bump into Lance Armstrong walking the halls, or Muhammad Ali wearing a visitor badge, shadowboxing a freshman. You might look up at any moment and see Janet Jackson or Elton John standing in the door of the classroom, or members of Earth, Wind & Fire auditing. More serendipity. When we dedicate the gymnasium, the NBA All-Star Game will be taking place in Vegas. We'll invite the rookie and sophomore All-Stars to play their traditional pickup game on our floor, the first game ever played at Agassi Prep. The kids will love that. Our educators are the best, plain and simple. The goal in hiring them was to find sharp, passionate, inspired men and women who were willing to lay it on the line, to get personally involved. We asked one thing of every teacher, to believe that every student can learn. It sounds like a painfully obvious concept, self-evident, but nowadays it's not. Of course, because Agassi Prep has a longer day and a longer year than other schools, our staff might earn less per hour than staffs elsewhere, but they have more resources at their fingertips, and so they enjoy greater freedom to excel and make a difference in children's lives. We thought it important that students wear uniforms, tennis shirt with khaki pants, shorts, or skirt in official school colors, burgundy and navy. We think it creates less peer pressure, and we know it saves our parents money in the long run. Every time I walk into the school, I'm struck by the irony. I'm now the enforcer of a uniform policy. I look forward to the day when some Wimbledon official happens to be in Vegas and asks for a tour. I can hardly wait to see the look on his or her face when I mention my school's strict dress code. We have another code that might be my favorite feature of the school, the code of respect that begins each day. Whenever I'm down there, I poke my head into a random classroom and ask the children to stand with me and recite. The essence of good discipline is respect. Respect for authority and respect for others. Respect for self and respect for rules. It is an attitude that begins at home, it is reinforced at school, and is applied throughout life. I promise them that if they memorize that simple code, keep it close to their hearts, they will go very far. Walking the halls, peering into the classrooms, I can see how the children value this place. I can hear it in their voices, discern it in their postures. From the teachers and staff, I've heard their stories, and I know the many ways this school enriches their lives. Also, we asked them to write personal essays, which we excerpt in the program for the yearly fundraiser. Not all the essays are about trials and hardships, far from it, but those are the ones I remember. Like the girl living alone with her frail mother, who's been unable to work for years due to an incurable lung disease. They share a cockroach-infested apartment in a neighborhood ruled by gangs, so school is the girl's refuge. Her grades, she says, with touching pride, are outstanding, because I rationalized that if I did well in school, no one would question what was going on at home, and I wouldn't have to tell my story. Now at 17, despite being forced to watch my mother deteriorate, to have lived with the bloods and cockroaches, to work to support my family, I am college-bound. Another senior writes about her painful relationship with her father, who spent much of her childhood in jail. Recently, when he got out, she went to meet him and found him painfully thin, living with a haggard woman in a broken motorhome that reeked of sewage and crystal meth. Desperate not to repeat the mistakes of her parents, the girl pushes herself to succeed at Agassi Prep. I won't let myself down the way others have. It's up to me to change the course of my future, and I will never give up. Not long ago, while walking through the high school, I was flagged down by a boy. He was 15, shy, with soulful eyes and chubby cheeks. He asked if he could speak to me privately. Of course, I said. We stepped into an alcove off the main hallway. He didn't know where to start. I told him to start at the beginning. My life changed a year ago, he said. My father died. He was killed, murdered, you know. I'm so sorry. After that, I really lost my way. I didn't know what I was going to do. His eyes grew cloudy with tears. Then I came to this school, he said, and it gave me direction. It gave me hope. It gave me a life. So I've been keeping an eye out for you, Mr. Agassi, and when you came by, I had to introduce myself and tell you, thanks. I hugged him. I told him that it was I who needed to thank him. In the upper grades, the focus is squarely on college. The kids are told again and again that Agassi Prep is only a stepping stone. Don't get comfortable, we tell them. College is the main goal. Should they happen to forget, reminders are everywhere. College banners line the walls. A main hallway is named College Street. A metal sky bridge between the two main buildings has never been used and never will be used until the first seniors receive their diplomas and embark for college in 2009. Walking across that bridge, the seniors will enter a secret room, sign their names in a ledger, and leave notes to the next class, and the next, and all senior classes to come. I can see myself addressing that first senior class. I'm already working with JP and Gil, obsessing over my speech. My theme, I think, will be contradictions. A friend suggests I brush up on Walt Whitman. Do I contradict myself? Very well, then. I contradict myself. I never knew this was an acceptable point of view. Now I steer by it. Now it's my North Star. And that's what I'll tell the students. Life is a tennis match between polar opposites, winning and losing, love and hate, open and closed. It helps to recognize that painful fact early. Then recognize the polar opposites within yourself. And if you can't embrace them or reconcile them, at least accept them and move on. The only thing you cannot do is ignore them. What other message could I hope to deliver? What other message could they expect from a 9th grade dropout whose proudest accomplishment is his school? It stopped raining, Stephanie says. Come on, I say, let's go. She pulls on a tennis skirt. I throw on some shorts. We drive to the public court down the street. In the little pro shop, the teenage girl behind the counter is reading a gossip magazine. She looks up and her chewing gum almost falls out. Hello, I say. Hi. Are you open? Yeah. Could we rent a court for an hour? Yeah. How much does it cost? $14. Okay. I hand her the money. She says, you can have center court. We walk downstairs to a mini amphitheater where a blue tennis court is surrounded by metal bleachers. We set down our bags side by side, then stretch and groan, teasing each other about how long it's been. I rummage in my bag for wristbands, tape, gum. Stephanie says, which side do you want? This one. I knew it. She hits a forehand softly. I creak like the Tin Man as I lumber toward it, then punch it back. We have a gentle, tentative rally, and suddenly Stephanie laces a backhand up the line that sounds like a freight train going by. I shoot her a look. It's going to be like that, is it? She hits a Stephanie slice to my backhand. I sit down on my legs and cane it hard as I can. I yell to her, that shot has paid a lot of bills for us, baby. She smiles and blows a lock of hair from her eyes. Our shoulders loosen, our muscles warm, the pace quickens. I strike the ball clean, hard, and my wife does the same. We shift from hitting without purpose to playing crisp points. She hits a wicked forehand. I hit a screaming backhand into the net. First backhand cross court I've missed in 20 years. I stare at the ball lying against the net. For a moment it bothers me. I tell her it bothers me. I feel myself getting irritated. Then I laugh, and Stephanie laughs, and we begin again. With every swing, she's visibly happier. Her calf is feeling good. She thinks she'll be fine in Tokyo. Now that she's not worried about the injury, we can play, really play. Soon we're having so much fun that when the rain comes, we don't notice. When the first spectator arrives, we don't notice him either. One by one, more arrive. Faces appear throughout the bleachers as one person presumably phones another person who phones two more people to tell them we're out here on a public court playing for nothing but pride. Like Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed after the lights are off and the gym is locked. The rain falls harder, but we ain't stopping. We're going all out. The people who show up now have cameras. Flashes go off. They seem unusually bright, reflected and magnified by the raindrops. I don't care, and Stephanie doesn't notice. We're not fully conscious of anything but the ball, the net, each other. A long rally, 10 strokes, 15. It ends with me missing. The court is strewn with balls. I scoop up 3, put 1 in my pocket. I yell to Stephanie, "Let's both come back. What do you say?" She doesn't answer. "You and me," I say. "We'll announce it this week." Still no answer. Her concentration, as usual, puts mine to shame. In the same way that she wastes no movement on the court, she never wastes words. JP points out that the 3 most influential people in my life, my father, Gil, Stephanie, aren't native English speakers. And with all 3, their most powerful mode of communication may be physical. She's engrossed in each shot. Each shot is important. She never tires, never misses. It's a joy to watch her, but also a privilege. People ask what it's like, and I can never think of the perfect word, but that word comes close. A privilege. I miss again. She squints, waits. I serve. She returns, then gives the Stephanie wave as if swatting a mosquito, meaning she's done. Time to pick up Jaden. She walks off the court. "Not yet," I tell her. "What?" She stops, looks at me. Then she laughs. "Okay," she says, backpedaling to the baseline. It makes no sense, but it's who I am, and she understands. We have things to do, wonderful things. She can't wait to go and get started, and neither can I. But I also can't help it. I want to play just a little while longer. Acknowledgements. This book would not exist without my friend J.R. Moringer. It was J.R., before we even met, who first made me think seriously about putting my story on paper. During my final U.S. Open in 2006, I spent all my free time reading J.R.'s staggering memoir, The Tender Bar. The book spoke to my heart. I loved it so much, in fact, that I found myself rationing it, limiting myself to a set number of pages each night. At first, The Tender Bar was a crucial distraction from the difficult emotions at the end of my career, but gradually it added to the overall anxiety because I feared the book would run out before the career did. Just after my first round match, I phoned JR and introduced myself. I told him how much I admired his work, and I invited him to Vegas for dinner. We hit it off right away, as I knew we would, and that first dinner led to many more. Eventually, I asked JR if he'd consider working with me, helping me tackle my own memoir and give it shape. I asked him to show me my life through a Pulitzer Prize winner's lens. To my surprise, he said yes. JR moved to Las Vegas and we got right to it. We have the same work ethic, the same obsessive all-or-nothing approach to big goals. We met each day and developed a strict routine. After wolfing down a couple of burritos, we'd talk for hours into JR's tape recorder. No topics were out of bounds, so our sessions were sometimes fun, sometimes painful. We didn't go chronologically or topically. We simply let the talk flow, prodded now and then by stacks of clippings collected by our superb, young, soon-to-be famous researcher, Ben Cohen. After many months, JR and I had a crate of tape cassettes, for better or worse, the story of my life. The intrepid Kim Wells then turned those tapes into a transcript, which JR somehow transformed into a story. Jonathan Siegel, our wise, wonderful editor at Knopf, and Sonny Mehta, the Rod Laver of publishing, helped JR and me polish that first draft into a second and a third, which was then excruciatingly fact-checked by Eric Mercado, the second coming of Sherlock Holmes. I've never spent so much time reading and rereading, debating and discussing words and passages, dates and numbers. It's as close as I'll ever come, or want to come, to studying for final exams. I asked JR many times to put his name on this book. He felt, however, that only one name belonged on the cover. Though proud of the work we did together, he said he couldn't see signing his name to another man's life. These are your stories, he said, your people, your battles. It was the kind of generosity I first saw on display in his memoir. I knew not to argue. Stubbornness is another quality we share. But I insisted on using this space to describe the extent of JR's role and to publicly thank him. I also want to mention the dedicated team of first readers to whom JR and I passed copies and excerpts of the manuscript. Each contributed in significant ways. Deepest thanks to Philip and Marty Agassi, Sloan and Roger Barnett, Ivan Bloomberg, Darren Cahill, Wendy Netkin Cohen, Brad Gilbert, David Gilmore, Chris and Varnada Handy, Bill Husted, McGraw-Milhaven, Steve Miller, Dorothy Mohringer, John and Joni Parenti, Gil Rays, Jamie Rose, Gunn Reuter, John Russell, Brooke Shields, Wendy Stewart Goodson, and Barbara Streisand. A special thanks to Ron Beretta for being rock solid, for reading me as closely as he read this book, for giving me invaluable advice about everything from psychology to strategy, and for helping me rethink and revise my long-standing definition of the words best friend. Above all, I want to thank Stephanie, Jaden, and Jazz Agassi, forced to do without me on countless days, forced to share me for 2 years with this book. They never once complained, they only encouraged, which enabled me to finish. The steadfast love and support of Stephanie provided constant inspiration, and the daily smiles of Jaden and Jazz converted to energy as quickly as food turns to blood sugar. One day, while I was working on the second draft, Jaden had a playmate over to the house. Manuscripts were piled high along the kitchen counter, and Jaden's friend asked, "What's all that?" "That's my daddy's book," Jaden said in a voice I've never heard him use for anything but Santa Claus and Guitar Hero. I hope he and his sister feel that same pride in this book 10 years from now, and 30, and 60. It was written for them, but also to them. I hope it helps them avoid some of the traps I walked right into. More, I hope it will be one of many books that give them comfort, guidance, pleasure. I was late in discovering the magic of books. Of all my many mistakes that I want my children to avoid, I put that one near the top of the list. And hey, one last note from Daniel, the reader and owner of this channel, Daniel Boonlight. I just want to thank y'all. If you were one of the people who have listened to the entire series, this entire book, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I intend to do more things that are close to my heart, just readings of people and books that move me. I hope you will stay along. I hope you will spread it about and just kind of stay aboard, because there's some beautiful stuff in the world of music and inspiration and art and poetry. And I have some good things coming down the pipeline. So I just hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't. And otherwise, I just thank you for being here. All right. Cheers, y'all.